So at this race, I kind of had the same thing go down. It went pop, whoa, and I caught myself, and I was like, we're walking, and I was just like, Billy will catch me, and I just all of a sudden, my leg was rock solid. Just it wasn't bending, it wasn't flexing. I was like, uh-oh.
This is a judgment-free zone.
Yeah, this is
Judgment-free.
This is a safe zone. Yeah.
Gun-free zone, no bully zone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just breaking all the rules.
Yeah, that's right.
Dying right, man.
Oh, man. What's up, Mike?
Dude, we got
Not
freaking broke knees Ruiz in the house.
We do.
Might have to change that name after the race, since the race.
Yeah, broke calf? What?
Snap calf?
Snap calf. Oh, man. Well, hey, if y'all are just tuning into this episode for the first time, we are Next in Line Development. We get a chance to sit down every once in a while with people that have done extremely challenging things and have changed their life for the better in some way or another. And we definitely have that here in the studio today with Mr. Micheal Ruiz, formerly known as Broke Knees Ruiz as well. And we're here today to talk about a specific event and then some other great things going on in life too. But in particular, your recent endeavor, I guess it was back in January already,
Yep.
of the Brazos Bend /7IL 100. Man, how have you been doing, Mike?
Good and bad, like most days, most people. You got ups and downs. But currently, I think I'm on a really big upside. So,
Man, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Been noticing you've been putting down some miles too on the old Garmin Connect there. So it seems like you're back in the swing for running.
yeah, trying to build back up. I'm a little behind of where I was. I might say I'm back where I am. It was about a year ago around this time. I had obviously I had some recovery time, some extended recovery time because of some unfortunate things that happened. And then I've had some personal stuff go on that kind of delayed my training and stuff. But yeah, back in the saddle, trying to ramp it back up. And I think I'm gonna go test her out at Ricochet's Riot.
Ricochet's Riot. What distance you doing out there?
I want to do the 50K.
50K.
Yeah, did the 25K last year, so it'd just be fun to go further, but it's a hot one out there.
It is hot. It is exposed. Not a lot of cover over there in Killeen, Texas.
Yeah.
So, man, that's exciting. It's cool to hear that. And, man, I know you've got, among this recovery and everything else, y'all got some exciting things going on. Y'all are a couple of weeks out from probably the biggest life event that has struck you or Bree's life up to this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, welcoming a little boy.
Oh,
we think little boy.
Oh, it's going to be a boy. Hey, don't get your hopes up, Chance.
I still want it to be a girl. Welcoming a little boy into the world. Super excited for y'all and what that's going to bring.
Old Thomas Augustine Ruiz.
There you go.
Yeah, dude.
Tommy.
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 That's freaking awesome, man. Heck yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, times are absolutely wild. But, man, one of the biggest things I want to start off with going into this is we joked about Brazos Bend 100 at 7IL. Let's just start there if y'all are good with it. You've put in this training block. You've done all the work. You've prepped out. You're ready to roll on what is supposed to be a solid ground level, fairly doable 100-mile race for most people looking to do their first 100-miler.
Oh, yeah. Pancake, man.
Yeah, it's flat, beautiful race for what you were hoping to do. Go out there and just test your legs, get a feel for it, not take too much of a beat up in the process. But what is going through your head whenever you get that first email from the race director of Trail Racing over Texas?
I think the first thought that went through my head was that you cursed me. So,
oh man, I did call that, didn't I?
Yeah, you were making jokes for months about, we're gonna have habanero bend or so, just all kinds of different jokes about that. Up to the point where you tried to tell me, and I didn't believe you. You called me and said, "Hi, 7IL Ranch. Are we ready for Brazos Bend?" or some stupid joke like that. And I didn't believe that had happened until I saw the update on Facebook, I believe. So.
Sure enough, it was true. And so you had that initial reaction on it. But, man, what is, I guess, lay out the differences between what you expected versus what you got out there for us, just so anybody unfamiliar with the two venues can kind of have a grasp on that.
Okay. Well, so what I had signed up for was Brazos Bend 100 mile, and it is technically a trail race, but not what people expect when they're hitting the trails. Not a lot of elevation. It's perfectly flat through Brazos Bend State Park. There's one small rise partway through the course. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it is pancake flat. I couldn't quote you exact elevation in feet for the laps or over the whole course or anything, but I was out there for Brazos Bend 50, April 1st, 2003, and that was my first ultra, and I thought that was pretty amazing. It was nice and flat and a good place to just step up the mileage without any other factor really affecting anything.
And what was your longest distance prior to running the 100 mile?
That would be 37.5.
37.5 at Big Tex.
Yeah, that was at Big Tex.
And that was at 7IL, so you had some previous experience.
Oh, yeah. We've been out at 7IL a lot, pacing for your races, doing some relay work, and really, it's a good time, but that place is brutal in the heat.
So we just recorded an episode that's going to drop prior to this one. Hasn't dropped just yet, but by the time people are listening to this, they'd have heard it. We compared it to, it's kind of like that candy bar that you get, and then you keep getting another one that's your favorite one. And then somebody surprises you with it, and then you find another one, and it's like, oh, yeah, I love these, but I'm just tired of it. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah, I'm tired of Twix. Give me a Snickers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll keep ending up in Twixville, right?
Yeah.
And 7IL, the venue, it's just super sandy, no good footing, exposed. Whereas Brazos Bend has some good tree cover out there. Really good trails as well. It's a nice area, but yes, 7IL becomes a much more complex race out there.
Absolutely. There's pacing was going to be dummy simple at Brazos Bend. It was what you can do, when you can do it. The world is your oyster. Other trails, you have to contend with some elevation or some footing or maybe some mud if it's raining, and you don't always have the option to run when you want. Mm-hmm. And so you have to work around that. You have to be able to have a little bit of a throttle in your running. You got to be able to lay back. You got to be able to accelerate. And so that's not what I was training for. I'm very early in my ultra career. I ran my first one in April, and I wanted to step up to the next distance, but we were discussing your dad's 100 mile, which he had just done, and that made me maybe a little overexcited, and I wanted to go out there and get some. And so I was like, well, let's try the 100 miler, but let's try probably the easiest 100 miler you could find. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was expecting. What I got was a little different, obviously, as we've discussed.
I mean, on the backside of Billy's run, I mean, it's hard to go through, be a part of, and witness something like that, and not be like, oh, let's go freaking get it.
Game on,
yeah. Get yourself in a little bit of trouble being around inspirational people sometimes.
You do, man.
It's good for you, man.
It's great, and there's something to be said about what that pushes you to as far as levels go and going higher and more and more. To be honest, short of a few things unexpected, obviously, with the course, it probably played factors into what we'll discuss a little bit later on that were large elements out there for you.
Oh, yeah.
You still completed the race. What was your time?
Oh, I believe it was 31:52, 51.
31:52.
I believe I beat the cutoff by 10 minutes or something.
You beat the cutoff by 10 minutes. Man, and it was an adventure through every part. I think Lane Dibben was out there doing some crew chiefing and some pacing, like usual.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we had a great group of pacer corps out there as well. So that was really cool. Man, so you get ready to go out there, and you've discovered this is not what it's going to be for you at this point. We all pony up anyway, show up out there at 7 Isle Ranch, and as you're getting ready to start this thing, are there any nerves? Are there any different feelings you didn't expect to have coming into it as you're getting ready in that corral with all those people?
In the corral, yes, some nerves. I woke up that morning and it was so cold. I mean, I'm a lizard. You know me. I like the heat. And so it's in the 30s and I'm freezing. I don't even want to get out of me and my fiance camped in the back of the car. I don't want to get out of the car. I don't want to get dressed, get my shorts on. But after we finally get over that, I get in the corral. I'm lined up. I'm bundled up. And we start counting down and it just starts hitting me. You know, my adrenaline drops and I'm like, oh, we're about to do this thing. We're about to see if the training block paid off, if I hurt myself too bad over the holidays because I had a little bit of a hiccup in my training over December.
I say, like, I want to dive into the pre-race stuff first.
Okay, come on.
Personally, man.
Come on.
You know, talk to us about your training. And even prior to training, you know, dude, for those that don't know, I mean, like, you've had, you know, a phenomenal story of, like, where you used to be and where you are now. And I want to dive into that before we truly start diving into the race. You know, so prior to this, you know, what did your mindset on running used to be?
Well, I have a background in the military. I did 5 years in the Marine Corps, and running was always kind of a punishment. It was, I mean, we did it for PT, but it's always, we go out as hard as we can. Whatever the fittest sergeant is leading the PT and trying to break you off. Yeah. And so I really hated it. Yeah. But, you know, you can't get out of it. So then after the Marine Corps, you know, obviously I
you like dropped it like a hot.
Dropped that pack and I started putting on weight, and I was kind of in the mindset, I'm never going to run again. Yeah. It's not for me. I'm going to drink some beer, have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, and obviously, you know, going from that to running a 100-miler, you know, there's a big transition period going through that, right? Oh, yeah. And so, like, when did that transition kind of happen?
Well, originally, I started trying to lose weight when Chance started trying to lose weight. And so I really still didn't enjoy it too much. I kind of liked it as a feather in my cap. You know, I'd tell people, you know, I just ran 3 miles today, you know, and around the crowd I was hanging out with at that time, that was well and above what was going on. So, I kind of liked the bragging about it a little bit. Like, I think most people, they're like, oh, I went and did this. They kind of like the good job, man, pat on the back. But that's about all I liked about it. I didn't like getting all sweaty and getting hot and nasty. But so I was doing it to get in shape along with dieting and everything like that. But after Chance started running ultra marathons, I decided to try and tackle a triathlon. Yeah. And after the triathlon, I realized the running was probably my favorite of the events because every time it was a training day for running, it was so simple to just put on my shoes, get out the door, and run. I didn't need any real equipment, maybe some water, and that's it. And so that's where it first started to kind of kindle my love for running. Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, you know, going into it, you know, got through Billy's race, you're like, this is what I want. Like, this is for me, right? Oh, yeah. And so, you know, you're going through and you're training for this. You know, what were some highs and lows that you had throughout that period? Because everybody's got highs and lows in their training blocks.
Yeah, you mentioned December. That'd be something I'd be curious to dive into.
Yeah, December was probably the lowest for me. But my training block started off probably in May. I believe it was May 2023, and I started hitting it hard. I was taking some time off between Brazos Bend 50 because I knew it was going to take up a lot of time, and I was just trying to do some other stuff and get my mind off of it. and I was running a business. I was starting a business at the time.
Yeah.
Which ended up not working out due to my training. That was gonna happen. We were just standing it up. It was a fresh business. It was gonna require a whole lot of time devotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was. I had 3 partners with me, and I decided to step away from that venture after probably about a month in business, which really stung. But I really kind of had to choose with the time sink, and that wasn't gonna be a forever thing anyway.
I was gonna say, so I mean, that's a pretty big. That alone is a pretty big thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so going through and prioritizing or trying to choose priorities, what was it about this that was like, no, like this is it comparative to?
Well, so that I was trying to dip my toe into business. It wasn't a business that I was super passionate about. It was kind of the other guys' passion, and I wanted some experience in that realm.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's really why I was there. And the running, I knew. I mean, we have this whole community built up. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say it's around running, but running does play an integral part in what we all do together. You, Billy, Chance, me, we're all Chris Barnes. Mm-hmm. Even my fiance is getting out there and getting some miles. Well, not so much recently with the pregnancy, but so it's something we all love. And I had started to fall in love with it with my marathon and my first ultra and stuff. And I knew it was something I wanted to stick with probably for life, as long as I can. I want to be running. So I just, that's kind of what made me choose that over the business.
I guess something I've always loved too is like out there at these races. I mean, you see a huge range of ages out there racing. Like at this one specifically, there was a 14 or 16-year-old that ran a 100-miler.
Yeah, he was 14.
And at the same race, we also had a gentleman that was in his mid-80s knocking out his 99th 100-miler.
Yeah.
Like,
that was some intense stuff watching him come through. Both of them were just exhilarating to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was he ended up being DFL at that race. And came in right at the cutoff, and that was such an amazing thing to get to witness, especially after the show that was the last lap or last lap and a half for you. So
so going back to the training aspect of it, obviously you chose that as priority, and what were some of the highs for sure, but like I said, everybody's got some lows too. So
right. So obviously at the start of every training block I pick up, the first couple weeks are just right up here. You're
feeling
just
good.
Yeah, your body
fresh.
feels nice and fresh, and you're all excited for the event that you just signed up for. I mean, I tend to sign up for the event well in advance, so I mean, I was already signed up, and so that's probably one of the best highs. But then the highest high I would have to say was at Big Tex when we were running out there. I hit a new distance. The course was a lot tougher than what I was expecting to go into for my 100-miler.
Little did you know.
I was not prepared. So I thought, man, I did real close to 40 miles out here at a much faster pace than I'm expecting to do on much tougher terrain than I'm expecting to do. And it just felt like I'm ready for this. I've got it in the bag, but I was feeling strong and confident and ready. And then,
which Big Tex was a good time for everybody.
Oh yeah,
it was. I actually have some interest in going back there. I don't know about y'all.
I would like to hit it again. I know I've got some races stacked up, and I know we've got some other people's races stacked up. I don't know what you're doing. It's a big mystery.
Nobody knows what Divon's doing.
A man of mystery. But
right.
It happens, man.
But
you will soon enough.
There we go. But I know Chris Barnes is talking about Leadville in the fall. Your dad is doing Cowboy in the fall, and I've got a race in the fall. So I've got a pair of races in the fall. So do I. And I'm thinking it's around that time. So
we'll be stacked. You're absolutely
so
right.
we'll see where Big Tex goes. I'm not committing anything there.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, like I said, Big Techs are such a good time. It's just like getting back out there with everybody, all of our crew, everybody's involved in some way, shape, or form. Like, from crewing to Livy Girl, she was out there playing.
Just living life.
And
Screaming.
and
You'll
we
probably
had
hear her on the podcast, actually. So,
we had a good time with Barnes out there, and just everybody else. I mean, our buddy Ty, he was out there running too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just getting out there, getting in that environment. It's just always, it's like reinvigorating. Like, yes, like this is why we do this.
Yeah.
And it's just always such a high point. I mean, even for me, like that was whenever I was still in my physique prep, but like just getting out there and like, yes, like I love camping. But I still had the camper shell on my truck and kept me dry. Everybody else was a little more damp.
moist.
But, just getting out there and getting in that environment, it's always like, yes, like this is it, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that's – if I had to guess, I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be such a big high for you.
Yeah.
And so on the flip side of that, obviously coming out of that, you still had a few months till Brazos Bend.
Mm-hmm.
Continue on, man.
Yeah, so I continued to hit some decent runs, but that was kind of my peak as far as long runs in distance. And I continued to stick to the training plan really well up to that point. And I started to kind of taper off for December, which Brazos Bend was supposed to be December 2nd, I believe. So just in preparation for that, kind of the end of November was taper time, but we were having some problems with the weather, and there was a weather watch out because they don't want to ruin the trails out there, which makes sense. You don't want to ruin the trails for everybody. That park should last for, however long we can make it last for. And unless global warming comes and melts the ice caps and floods the whole thing down there in Houston, it forever, right?
Yep. Sure thing.
See what the Lord's got in store for us.
Yep.
But so yeah, we want to keep those trails nice.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Cal does a great job of coordinating his races, so I know if he was having a hard time making that work, then it was a serious logistical challenge. But at the end of the day, it really was a kick in the teeth to have it delayed, and it got delayed until the 1st of January. So
now I want to touch base on that, right? So it got delayed, but it wasn't moved yet. It was still set for Brazos Bend.
Yes,
Correct.
It was still set for Brazos Bend at this time.
Yeah.
And we thought we were just going to hit Brazos Bend in January.
Yeah.
A little colder, but whatever.
Yeah.
Still going to be nice and flat. And the only thing that was going to change was the day. But that kind of threw a wrench in my mentality. Because effectively, I had just peaked and then tapered. I could have just ramped right back up, and that was my initial intent. But we were traveling a lot for the holidays, seeing people, and I just got in this slump.
Yeah.
And I was maybe putting down 6 miles every other day, something like that. Just not, and I was running those pretty intense, but they weren't. It's not the mileage you need to be laying down that close to your 100-miler.
Yeah.
So that's I think I was kind of. I don't want to say detraining, but I definitely wasn't making progress, and my mindset wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah. So let's dive into that too. The race was delayed, and it hadn't come out yet. But whenever it did, say that it was being moved. I know that we talked about it a few minutes ago. But what effect did it actually have on your mindset? You're already down. You're already negative.
Yeah.
You're already like, I'm not at my peak anymore. I've just been kind of going through a rhythm basically for
exactly
2-3 weeks or whatever have you. Talk to us about your mindset change, like, or just the effect on your mindset more so.
Yeah, well,
it's kind of like a double whammy.
Yeah, kind of. I think I was kind of in a low with the delay, more of I don't want to say depression.
Yeah,
it's not clinical depression, but you kind of get into this. Oh man, you're dragging. You just feel kind of low energy.
You're just emo micing.
Yeah, just throwing the bangs out in front of the eyes.
That's right. That's what it was.
And then when I get the news that we're going to 7IL, it scared me more. It actually kind of brought me out of that, and more of a, oh man, this is going to be even tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Kind of engage fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but by the time we got that news, I believe we were a couple weeks out.
Yeah, right there.
So it was like, even though it scared me, it was too late for me to be the kick in the butt to ramp the training back up. And so it was just like, okay, gripping the edge of your seat, like, all right, we're just going to have to be as mentally prepared for this as possible. And it shifted into a kind of a let's go to war mindset, like let's kick its ass.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because that's where your mentality has to be going into something like that.
Did it change your goals? I imagine maybe you had a time in mind whenever the Brazos Bend. Did that shift to completion more, or how did that play out?
A little bit. So at Brazos Bend, I was curious if I could finish in the 20-something hours, which is a wide range. There's a lot between 20 and 30, which I knew it wasn't going to be 20. I knew it wasn't going to be 24. That was that's a pretty quick 100-miler, and this is my second ultramarathon ever.
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into that.
So I was, even though it was flat, I'm relatively inexperienced, and so I was thinking maybe 26 to 30, depending on how the day was going. But just really kind of, worst comes to worst, let's knock it out at 30. And then in the going to 7IL, I know that just with the sand, and they did a good job with the course. They were trying to make it a different course than the Habanero course. The Habanero course is tough. You're running through basically sand pits, and they did their best to keep us out of the sand for the Brazos Bend.
Concerning the course,
yeah. And I kind of lost track of my train of thought, but.
No, we were just talking about mindset.
Yeah, so it was just kind of hold on, go out there, because my plan was a very even pace for Brazos Bend State Park. We move it to 7IL, and I knew that running really slow but consistent over the whole time was not going to be it, because trying to run at a certain effort level, the different elevation in the sand might slow me down, and then I wouldn't be making that back up. So I decided I was going to run out there, run the first lap at a certain effort level and see where that time kind of clocked in, and if that felt like it was going to go well for the rest of the race. If I could kind of, if that was fast enough that degrading over the course of the race, I would still finish in time.
And then just adapt,
Yeah, and then it was just going to be kind of have to, let's see how it goes as it goes kind of thing. Throw the plan out the window and see where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I even remember that post coming out on Facebook, man. I mean, there's quite a few upset people that just had that mindset too. But I mean,
there was so much complaining and moaning, and people just been out of shape. And
but what I want to highlight is like you going through and like changing your mindset to being like, yes, like it isn't what we expected, but we're gonna go out there and freaking get after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because there was a lot of people that chose to even not show up to that race, and rightfully so. It's a completely different race at that point. There's nothing the same. Every expectation of what that race was supposed to be was totally different. But I agree with Lane and commend you on being able to change that mindset, shift gears, and go into a warrior mentality, whereas so many people just diving on that thread and that post just such a negative place, and if they were already in a negative place from being pushed out and their training blocks being thrown off and extenuating out through the holidays, it just it took them to another level. They went beyond emo Mike into deep depression, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely commend you for that.
Yeah. So again, I guess now we're back up to the start, right? So you're walking up to that start line, you're in the corral with everybody else. got the butterflies going,
and
that gun goes off.
Oh yeah, we everybody starts, and it's a lot of high energy at the beginning of one of those races.
Absolutely.
Everybody starts barreling out the gate, and I think I did pretty well keeping that in check. My heart rate wasn't going crazy. I know at Brazos Bend 50, my heart rate was pinned.
Yeah.
It was just adrenaline. This is my first ultra marathon. I barely completed I wouldn't say barely completed my marathon. I completed it, but not nearly where the time goal was going to be. It was a big awakening, a big kick in the face. And so in Brazos Bend 50, my heart rate was pinned. In this, I knew we weren't going to figure out if I was going to finish or not until I went over 50 miles. And so the whole front half of that, and I did Big Bend, 37 and change. And so I knew that we were good for a while. We weren't going to figure out where my limit was for many hours yet. And so my heart rate stayed low. I mean, that's what I'm chalking it up to, was that I just wasn't stressing once I actually got my feet moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's because, I don't know, all the nerves is anticipation. Once you're actually doing the dang thing, it's like, okay, it's either going to happen or it's not.
Yeah.
We're here. Let's just put in the time, put in the miles, and see where we go.
I really like that because I feel like it's so applicable to so many different things in life in general. We build up anticipation and just put you in that mindset of like we got to get over this little hump. But once we're there, we're there. And it's, I can just think of so many different scenarios, just within life in general.
Yeah. I'm going through it right now again.
Yeah.
I've got a couple weeks maybe till my son is born, and I'm just a big old ball of let's just get there. I want to hold him. I want to start dealing with the diapers and the crying and the staying up in the middle of the night. Because right now I'm just anticipating all of that struggle, and I'm not getting any of the reward of actually getting to spend time with him and bond with him and discover parenthood and everything like that. And that's the same thing with running. You get to anticipate everything that's going wrong without actually taking any of the steps, seeing any of the scenery, talking with any of the people at the race. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I hope we don't get to the due date and you get a call from Cal Neff. You say, hey, we're going to push this thing back about 2 weeks.
We're moving to a new location.
It's a different venue, too.
Sorry. No, that's super exciting, dude. And yeah, y'all are right. And it's going to be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Once you're in it, you're just going to have to feel it out.
No.
Everybody's experience is different, just like an ultra marathon. Some people are 90 miles an hour freaking out. Some people are cool, calm, and collected, and some people are in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So before we get too deep into the race itself, what was your nutrition strategy going into this?
I knew I wanted to take on probably about 300 calories an hour.
Okay. Are you a big gel guy? Do you like goos and stuff like that? Or are you more I need some PB&J?
At the time, I really liked goos.
Yeah.
They had treated me right through my marathon and my first 50K.
And you're using the actual goos.
Yeah,
right?
goo packets, GU.
More power to you, man.
Caramel and chocolate.
Syrupy.
Thick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, especially in the cold out there.
Straight,
chewing.
It's just straight paste, dude.
Yeah, that's and I mean, they're over sweet. But I mean, it also kind of that's what you need. Some people really like all that sweetness, you know. Me, I like sweet like that. But it's probably about as sweet as a candy bar, but it doesn't taste as good as a candy bar. You just
absolutely.
It's just sweet,
Folks, just imagine some sweet chemicals. That's what it tastes
Oh
like.
god.
I mean, I don't want to dog too hard on goo because they're out there, making it work. They help a lot of people get through a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
They
They've
do.
been around
They're
for forever too.
But
they're just not my cup of tea.
Sometimes someone shows you a better way, and you just have to admit that you were wrong.
It'd be somewhere, the consistency for me, especially when it's cold like that, is somewhere between cold syrup, pancake syrup, and a Laffy Taffy. Like somewhere
Dude,
in
that's
that
so
range.
spot on.
Yeah, I was gonna say a warm Tootsie Roll.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Like that's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's hilarious.
But normally not a problem if I take on fluids and with it, and part of it is beneficial. It coats your mouth and it gets kind of that nasty running taste out of your mouth. I don't know if y'all get that just taste. Some ASMR on the podcast here.
There you go.
But I don't know how to describe it, but when you just doing a lot of mouth breathing.
No, I
I know
kind
what
of
you're saying.
a little bit. I think to the point of
It's
like
just the sound effects for me.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Courtney DeWalter, they actually just came out with a new Solomon pack that has a toothbrush built into it because she brushes her teeth during ultras.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, dude. So
That's a great
I want to
idea.
start looking at that. You know?
Yeah.
Avoid that runner's mouth, boy.
Yeah.
All right, so you like goose. But did you plan on taking in like any like solid foods throughout as well?
Yeah, so at Brazos Bend 50, I did really well just eating off of the aid station tables. You know, grab a banana, grab a peanut butter and jelly. If you can get the Nutella sandwich, that's what I'm talking about. You know what? It's
least
like Good tried to do Nutella and then just screwed it up.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's like Nutella is so close, but it's just way better.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of thick. You put it in your mouth. It's a little thick, coats your mouth, but it just tastes so much better. And I mean, I don't know how many calories are in a tablespoon of Nutella, but it's probably comparable. Probably more.
I feel like you got to give Goose some credit, though, because they had to get like an electrolyte profile in there.
Yeah, that's fair. Nutella's not worried about your nutrition.
It's like chocolate.
Yeah.
Yes. Get chocolate wasted out here.
But yeah, if you can snag a Nutella sandwich off of one of those aid stations, ooh, that's the move.
Carbs on carbs, baby.
I also want to give you a shout out because at least you stop at aid stations.
Yeah.
And I'm dogging on myself right now.
Well, that shows just a difference in our mentalities. Y'all, you said warrior mentality earlier, and I just kind of want to, I don't want to correct you, but I think what y'all have is typically a warrior mentality. Y'all are going into it like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself on this trail if I have to. You know, if I have to run my feet into nubs, I'm getting there. You know, y'all have that hard warrior mentality. I mean, I said go to war with it, but that's, I don't know. My mentality is a little different. I'm like, all right, you know,
We got some nachos over here.
yeah, we got some stuff going on, but I'm also haven't been super time goal oriented either. So I'm like, okay, if I need some time, give myself some time. If it, you know, let's see
which is good though too.
Yeah,
It makes you adaptable.
And so I kind of wanted to hold that mentality all the way up through my first 100-miler. You know, I wanted to do 50K, 50 miles, 100K, 100-mile, and that's how I wanted to kind of knock it out. But obviously, Billy got me all excited, finishing with a thrown-out back.
It's fine, man. He got everybody excited.
So I just jumped the gun, and but yeah, I wanted to you know, just completion it out for the first couple ultras. You know, I mean, it's an ultra. I was like, that's good enough. You know, we're not gonna. But also, I think I wanted to approach my training differently if I was gonna go for a time. But the mentality of getting up to 100 miles was just like, hey, is it something possible for me? Is that something that I'm capable of doing? You know, just going the distance. So, yeah. So I stop at aid stations, but I'm a little bit more relaxed. Y'all guys are quite intense. I love it, and it's a great thing. Y'all, it's taken y'all a long way.
Well, I think if we rewind back a little bit too, though, like to childhood stuff, I know Divin and I grew up like from the very beginning of life, thrown into team sports and raised in an environment of like just the most competitive place in the world.
Right.
And I think you had hobbies that were probably a little bit more
I was
non-competitive in that.
Yeah,
regard
as
like
as
that.
much of a nerd as you are, I'm more of the classic nerd. You're like, what do I compare you to? Because I don't know, you always stood out. You were singular. in our childhood. You know, you went and did every sport under the sun, and excelled in a lot of them. And you also nerded out. You
Love to nerd out.
ran some D&D with the best of us, to the chagrin of some of the nerds that me and James were hanging out.
Oh yeah,
with.
that's a good story.
Yeah, we showed up to a D&D game, and these
Dungeons and Dragons for anybody. That
Oh yeah, yes. For those who don't know, Dungeons and Dragons. But we showed up to it, not to get off track on a tangent here, but we showed up to a D&D game, and you don't expect a nerd to have biceps, and you know, maybe you expect a low body count, but body fat percentage. Sorry, body count? What the heck?
Going in a different route here.
No, maybe they have a low body fat percentage, but then you lack in the muscles, or you maybe they're a bigger guy, but you got quite a bit of body fat on them. Typically, for a typical nerd, you don't expect somebody to be able to tell you about the Lich King of Andor and be able to run a fast 40, you know. And so you showed up to that game. And all they knew of you was you were our cousin. They didn't know you've been playing D&D with us since we were, you know, able to comprehend the game. Yeah. You know,
6.
Yeah. And so they were kind of trying to dog on you. They were like, "You're in our realm now, brother," and we completely underestimated your ability to play that game and be in that world. And they were a little ticked off that you knew some of the rules you knew, and just I don't know.
Yeah, I think I ended up like I was playing a thief that found the trap door to the treasure room at the end of the adventure.
That was it. They were dogging on you all the way there, and then you found the treasure room as the thief
that nobody else saw.
And if you're role playing, you don't know about that treasure room unless your guy tells you about that treasure room.
So I just looked at him and said, "I don't see crap." They were so mad. Oh my God.
Talk about gnashing of teeth, man.
Dude, oh my gosh. They were pissed. Uncle Robbie was like trying not to die laughing.
Dude, yeah. Anyway,
so how did that game? Is that how it ended up playing out?
Straight up, we got through the whole adventure. Like, went through everything, went through the dungeon, killed all the big baddies and everything like that.
And they were talking down to him from the very beginning.
They were.
And I don't know why they were so rude. They were nice guys when me and James were playing with them. You showed up and I guess they were hit some insecurity or something.
I don't know, dude. All I know is that at the end, they got dunked on.
Yeah, I don't remember what your character's name was, but I'm going to call him Steve. Steve's out there just sitting on piles of treasure in his throne room.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
But
yeah, that's pretty funny.
So what was the question?
I don't remember.
My apologies.
We were talking about
competitiveness.
Mindset and competitiveness and everything else.
Okay. Yeah, so I was always kind of just a happy-go-lucky nerd. Let's play some games. Let's play some Halo. Let's whatever. And I don't know. I wasn't really raised in that competitive environment.
And that's probably where that kill, like, Divin and I probably go overboard a little bit, but that's because we've been like ingrained in this for the past 18 years of our life. And don't get me wrong, you're a competitive dude too, and you're a strong athlete and runner whenever you get out there amongst the guys. And I think
I
it's
appreciate
just,
that.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're even at a point where like you're competing with yourself. And that's a really healthy and positive thing. Whereas a lot of times, you said you had a great race that started off at a great, comfortable pace, and Divin and I can both recount every single race we've gone to where we've burned off in the first few miles, realize we're not supposed to be running with the people we're running with because they're way too fast for us, and we got the competitive spirit getting the best of us. There's
that's fair.
six benefits of both sides.
Yeah.
Burning down 6-minute miles for ultra.
Yeah.
Now that being said, I'm not afraid to use y'all guys like that. I mean, obviously, you want to push yourself past where you've been, where you're going to go into uncharted territory, shark-infested waters. You want the best of the best. You know, you want the best crew chief, and you want people around you who can pace you and know you and can say something that will get you to continue on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And maybe I did too well on that front, because going back now, I wouldn't change anything. But I don't know, and later we'll get into it, but I don't know if doing what we did was the smart call overall. But boy, am I glad to have that buckle. Yeah. So 6 one, half dozen the other. I don't know. Yeah. It's great to have some real warriors on your team for when stuff goes south.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, even I think my dad aligns mindset-wise. He's competitive, but he probably aligns mindset-wise with you a little bit more as far as the going out there competing with himself and just being more conscious of the feelings of what's going on. I think that played a big factor later in, too. I want to make sure we hit that. But rolling back to nutrition as well. So you had your plan together and everything. Did it go to plan?
For a while, as far as the plan was supposed to hold up, it held up.
Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I knew that the second half of the race was going to be a whole lot of learning. Again, I mean, you're more than doubling your furthest distance. There's no way to know what's going to go down. I mean, to be less, philosophical about it, I mean, what's going to go down is you're going to put one foot in front of the other until you can't no more, or you finish the race. But you don't know how you're going to feel, where your mindset's going to be, how your stomach's going to be handling stuff. And those are stuff you can't know until you've been there in the environment in which you're running, at the distance you've been going. And even then, it could be different from time to time. You know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, that even goes into your hydration too. I mean, if you don't have that dialed in for a 100-mile race, you're just getting out there and just trying to figure out what does work.
Right. And so I knew for the first 30-something miles, I could eat off the aid stations. I could have a meal in the crew area if I needed to, and I brought some goos, but the goos weren't really they were more for if I couldn't really stand to chew anything up. I brought a lot of those classic little orange peanut butter crackers and a bunch of little kind of snacky foods that I was bringing with me. I can't for the life of me remember the variety that I brought, but it was all stuff that I knew I'd eaten before. Yeah. And that I knew I liked the taste of, and because I can eat most things up to the distance that I had been, and so I was like, I'm gonna do that until I can't anymore, and then we're just gonna be flying by the seat of our pants. I brought a bunch of extra stuff, I knew I brought a couple of break glass in case of emergency. Those smoothies.
Oh, okay.
Oh no! Oh God, I couldn't imagine. I can barely stomach those.
Really?
Normally.
Oh,
really?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love them because they do all the happy chemicals in the brain. But good Lord, are they sweet?
Yeah,
they are. I'm bringing zebra cakes to the 250. So
yeah, I did
a big factor that people don't think about unless you're out there doing this and trying foods is like actually finding stuff that you don't have to necessarily like chew.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me because it's like
you get so tired.
You're trying to breathe, you're trying to eat, and just chewing while running and breathing and everything else. It just sucks.
Yeah,
well, after a
with
while,
your dry mouth.
Yes, absolutely.
You just get so. Oh yeah, there goes that. Sounds by Michael. No, you just get so tired of it too. By the end of it,
yeah,
it's like you don't want to. I get to the point I don't want to eat anything because I just like so tired of eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to work your tongue around, much less like your jaw.
Yeah, it just sucks.
But
I don't know. It's just like such a simple thing. It's like chewing your food, but it's like I don't want to chew my freaking food.
yeah.
Well, then we had
So-
other foods too. I want to make sure we hit. We were cooking burgers. We were cooking. I think burgers are kind of our go-to out
I
there.
think you have
Yeah.
potatoes too, right?
Yeah, I had
mashed
we had a
potatoes.
lot of potatoes.
Yeah.
A lot
out
of
there.
potatoes. We did breakfast with some eggs and potato and bacon and some sausage mixed in. So
Mhm.
Yeah, that was good
Oh.
too. I forgot about that. That's
Um,
probably my favorite breakfast we've actually had.
yeah, the old
out
scramble,
there.
baby.
which that was a good learning experience was how I take on that stuff because at first potatoes were the jam. They were
Yeah.
amazing, and I had never really fought that flavor fatigue that a lot of ultras will talk about because you're like, come on, man, you can. What do you seriously? You can't eat another bite of potatoes, really? And then I get to the point where I'm just like, if I taste potatoes again, I'm gonna freak out.
I'm gonna rue the day.
It's like Harry and Dumbledore in the cave. You've got to eat it, Professor.
Yeah.
Remember what you said.
So I don't know. It's crazy, but I brought some smoothies that I don't think I cracked into unless I'm forgetting something. They were in the bottom of the ice chest, just 2 of them, because that's 360 calories a bottle, and all you got to do is drink that puppy down.
Oh,
I
dang.
didn't see those.
I don't
And
recall
that
seeing
and
those
that's
either.
that
Yeah.
was another learning experience was kind of a failure on my part to brief you on everything that I was thinking about before we got out there, which kind of I had a pre-race meeting, but it wasn't the best organized. And we got out there pretty late, too late for us to really go over what I had in my kit and everything. And so lessons learned, because I know near the end of the race, going back to the goos, I didn't want a goo, and I had brought mostly goos, and because they're cheap. They're one of the cheapest of the race fuels, and I can get them at my local Walmart. So really solid for goo. And for most runs that I need fuel, I can take a goo really easy. So they work. But my mouth was dry. I was in so much pain, and I didn't want to goo. And that's where I don't know if you gave me one of the Bear Performance Nutrition. I don't know what that flavor is called. It's the applesauce.
Apple cinnamon.
Apple cinnamon,
Yeah.
or
Or
one of the
Go
spring
Gels.
awesome sauces.
Yeah,
But
the
those
spring.
started to just hit because they were so liquidy.
Bro, they're so good.
Yeah, they're so tasty.
I've got 50 of them sitting in a box out there right now.
Yeah. So that I kind of was relying on that a lot. I should have brought more Tailwind. I had a sampler pack that I had purchased to get an idea of whether it would sit well with me on my long runs, and I had a couple of those, and I underestimated how much that Tailwind how much of that I was gonna want. So I thought I had enough, and I did not.
Yeah.
I was sucking that stuff down.
Yeah.
And because it's just easier to take on liquid calories, it really is.
Yeah,
And
that's-
so I started breaking into y'all's supply of stuff, and that I know y'all don't mind having that stuff, but it kind of I want to kick myself in the butt for not I could have had some of that stuff on hand. I could have had more Tailwind. I could have had a variety of gels, and I it was a little bit unprepared. But I thought the goos were going to be okay. If I wasn't using them for the first half of the race or whatever, I thought they were going to be okay.
Yeah, and that's usually how it goes. You eat until you can't eat, and then the gels come in later whenever you're in a bind.
Yeah.
If you get in a bind,
Mhm.
right? And being your first 100-miler and first race out past this distance like that, seems like a good plan. I mean, genuinely, it's a good thing to have put together. You heard from some of the other people that have ran around you, I'm sure, and I think that's still a fair thing to go in with.
Yeah, I think the plan was okay, and I got to learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
But I would do things differently going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at what point did it actually hit you? Like, I'm in the middle of a freaking 100-mile race. Like, I know, reflecting back to your 100-miler chance, you hit like 33 miles, and you're like, I can run this 3 more times, and I still wouldn't have hit my 100-mile. Or you did it at like 30 miles or something like that, right?
Yeah, I did.
Right.
So, like, what At what point was it for you, man?
Well, I'm be honest, I did specifically try and keep myself out of that mentality. I was there with Chance when in his first 100-miler attempt, and he was struggling with some of those thoughts. And so that's one of the great things of, and I'm sure you can attest, you just ran your first ultra. You've got a whole lot of experience. You've crewed for multiple different runners. You've crew chiefed, you've paced and everything, and so you've got multiple different personalities, and you got to see where they went.
Yeah.
And so that was very helpful for me to watch that. So I stayed out of there, and maybe it would have been different if events hadn't unfolded how they did, because that kind of took up a whole lot of my mental bandwidth from that point. But the mileage, I know, because a lot of the step after step, it blurs together, loop after loop. Something could happen on one loop, and I can't tell you if that was the first loop or the fifth. But there's moments in time that stand out. I know at one moment I was heading down the trail, and we had a bunch of people just spread out along the trail, and there were people the next pasture over just watching us. What the heck is going on? And so one of the ladies was real close to the fence, and I gave her a little wave. And I said, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning," whatever, just friendly, how you do? And she said, "What are y'all doing?" I said, "Oh, we're running a 100-mile ultra marathon." And she said, "What? How far in are y'all?" And I looked down, and I said, 27 miles, And so I remember where I was at that point. And I know at that point, I was still just in it, running easy,
good, yeah,
chilling.
solid.
I mean, obviously your legs fatigue and you feel it a certain amount as you go on. But you get used to the fatigue. You know what's hurt and what's just pain. Because I mean, we all know pain sometimes is important, but most of the time you can ignore it. It's just your body trying to trip you up. So, I was feeling good at 27 miles, I know. And then I know when it started to get dark.
That's what I was going to ask.
And I felt like I was so prepared for that moment, because everyone you watch will tell you, "Hey, when it gets dark, the demons come out, brother." You start questioning where you're at, I'm not even halfway, and the night has come. I've got my headlamp out. I'm out here all alone, and it's just weird, the mindset you get into. And I know that started to play hell with me. So when I came in on that first loop, I still wasn't ready for a pacer. I had a whole nother loop in the dark before I could get my first pacer.
I was gonna say, you can't even get your pacer yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that really sucked. And that mindset started to come in. Those really unhappy thoughts. Just, what am I doing out here? This sucks. It hurts. Whatever. And I came in, and so I was like, and I don't usually run with a whole lot of music. I'll run with headphones on my training runs, and I'll listen to audiobooks or podcasts. But I don't like to use music, because I like to be really conscious of what I'm doing to my body and the effort level I'm putting in. Music can elevate your mood, get your mind off things, and you start running to the tempo. Or like a song that just comes on, and your heart starts pumping, and you're like, let's go. Before you know it, you're running 9-minute miles, and that's completely unsustainable for me. I mean, I know you can lay down some 9-minute miles, but for me, that's pretty quick that's really fast on a long run.
Absolutely.
I'm running just sub 12 to over 12, depending on how long the long run is, and so I don't usually like to use music, but I knew to have some music on hand, because again, you can get way more into the music than your own body and your own mind. So I came in off of that loop. It had gotten dark. I know y'all offered me batteries for my headlamp.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, this thing lasts forever. I've only ever had to change the batteries in this thing once. And that was like a couple months ago. I've had it for a couple of years, you know? So I was like, there ain't no way the batteries are dying on this bad boy. I was super proud of that headlamp. I don't know why. It's like a $12 headlamp. But old reliable, you know?
Old faithful.
And,
Old Bertha.
but I asked for my headphones, and y'all gave me my headphones and my phone, and I threw it all in the pack, and I put on my not country playlist. I listen to two types of music: country and not country.
Fair enough, brother.
But so slapped on the not country playlist and headed out on the loop, and then just toned out. Mm-hmm. Let that whole loop just flow to the music. And that really helped with the night. And nothing else really memorable happened on that loop that I can recall. I came in, I felt pretty strong over that loop, and I was coming into 50 miles at that point. And at that point I was really high. I was up here. I was like, I just knocked out 50 miles and I feel awesome. Well, you know, I mean, not awesome. Obviously, you hurt, but I was like, nothing's gone wrong. We're ready to start on the race now.
Yeah. Well, I remember that lap being one of your faster laps too.
Yeah, the music, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was. I think it was the first lap, that lap, and then, I in order of speed, I think it was first lap, the lap with you. And then the music lap. So
what are you saying, man? We'll get there,
but yeah. Oh, good God, you can make somebody burn it down. But
so you come in, you're feeling super strong, feeling good. You know, you just had a solid lap. Though it was in the dark, you got to listen to some music, right?
Yeah.
Brought up your mood, and I mean, you know, like, hey, I'm about to have a pacer with me. I'm going to have somebody there with me throughout the rest of this, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, coming into camp, you know, dive into that for us.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to change my shoes, and it was getting pretty cold, so I think we needed to put on some tights. I don't know if I was in shorts at that moment. Or
you're still in shorts, and then you threw some tights on.
Okay, because I didn't know if we were changing the tights or if I needed to just put on tights. So we came in. Obviously, my legs were jelly. I mean, I'm feeling strong. I'm really high, but you know,
But they're still fatigued. Obviously.
Yeah, they're fatigued beyond what I've ever done. You know, and so I know I needed my fiance's help to put on the
your tights.
The tights, yeah. And she was holding me up, you know. And I mean, she's pregnant and holding me up, and my jelly legs are barely holding on. So we went in the tent. We got that squared away. I think I reapplied some lube, and then
she was just getting practice for this baby that's coming up.
Yeah.
Slap some britches on you.
Yeah, powder it up.
Yeah, right. Get some lube down in there.
But so we come out, and I knew I pulled the shoes off to give myself a break, and they gave me a card that I believe it was the one my mom wrote, and that
I remember those. Yeah.
I read that for a pick me up, and I'm a emotions on the cuff of your sleeve or however you say it kind of guy. So I cried. Well, no, I didn't cry at that one.
Not on that one.
No, but I got a little choked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, your mom saying, "Oh, I'm proud of you. You know, you impressed the hell out of me." Stuff. I mean, that's not how she talks, but
she's not a Marine.
No, you're the best person in the world. No, I'm just kidding. No, she just some really heartfelt messages. You know, super proud of you. I'm proud to call you my son. You're super strong. Let's get it done. Kind of stuff. And so, trying to, I'm tough, you know. I think we got some food down. I know there were some concerns about getting me out of the aid station because I'm a lingerer, man. I linger. And
What's going on, guys?
I know Crew Chief Divin was like, man, this guy's sticking around on these stops. You know,
I actually met it. It's funny you say that because I remember it's like, yes, it was a big stop for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling Chance and Billy's like, we gotta get him out of here.
Yeah, dude, I'll set up.
I don't know if you remember that.
I'm like,
I do.
Oh, hey guys, hey, what are we doing? Camping? All right.
Is that a fire?
Yeah,
You got guitars? Oh my gosh.
So, and it's not that I'm like intentionally delaying, like actively like, hey, I'm gonna do this and cause a delay. I'm gonna do this, and it's just, hey, let's take care of this. Let's take care of this. I'm a little fumbly with my mind and my fingers, and you're trying to think about what you're doing. Your crew's trying to help you out, and you're like, water, yeah, I can do some water. What do you want for your electrolyte profile? Do you want us to put in the dang? Because I was running Tailwind and Liquid IV in some of those, because I know we were running low on Tailwind.
Yep.
And we were kind of mixing and doing some stuff, and I'm just kind of zonked, right? So, we got me fixed up, and then we tried to put on the next pair of shoes that I wanted, and they wouldn't fit. My feet swelled up while I was giving them that little air out and changing the socks and everything, and so we switched to. And another thing that being around a lot of ultra runners will bring so many shoes, all the shoes.
Oh, yeah.
If you throw the closet in the bag, put it in the back of the car.
We take that literally around here.
Yeah, and so that was really good that I did that, because I selected my biggest pair of shoes, and they barely fit. So
Yeah.
we slapped those on, and then I think we got me back out on the trail with DJ James Ruiz.
Ooh.
My
I
brother.
forgot about that.
DJ
He had
Jazzy
that
James,
speaker.
boy.
Yeah. So James isn't an ultra runner himself, but he's one of the hardest headed mother lovers that I know.
Good save.
So I knew I wanted him as a pacer. He's run with me on some of my training runs. He's tough, and and while not super experienced on the trail, there's trail courtesy you pick up, and he's more concerned about me than anybody else, which is what you want.
Yeah.
That's why he's on the team. That's why he's there, because I know that he's gonna prioritize me over himself. He's gonna prioritize me over this, and he's one of those guys that I don't want to let down. Right? There's so many people in my circle that I would do that for, and then there's people in your circle that you're like, all right, man, you're fun to hang around, but I don't really care about your opinion.
Yeah.
And so the thing with James is he listens to music everywhere. You're trying to have a conversation with the man, and he's got some music playing.
Yeah.
But that's really awesome on the trail, because he's practically running with a boombox. He's got a wireless speaker, but in my head, it's the big old 80s, 90s boombox, and he'll just go. So I pick him up, and we head out into the dark, and my headlamp goes kind of dim.
Oh no, we hit the 2-year mark.
Yeah, I think maybe just the batteries I bought it with were strong.
Yeah, maybe so.
But I was like, oh man,
Dude, that's hilarious.
So and
Now.
the other thing is, a plan is good. A plan is awesome, but you have to make sure you use the plan. I had 2 different headlamps and 2 really small belt clip lights that are insanely bright, but they don't last very long. And what those are is they're my backup to my headlamp. They're clip it on your waist, clip it on your vest, wherever, and they'll last you a couple hours at a time, and they're super bright. So if your headlamp goes down, it's nothing to carry with you. It's just a little thing as a backup. Sweet. It'll get you to the next aid station, cruise stop, whatever.
Yeah.
I had those in my box, and they stayed in my box the whole race for a moment like that, which is also partially why I said, no, I don't need batteries. But I don't have.
But you don't have it on.
I don't have it on me, and it doesn't do any good in the box. And so that's in my head, but it's not in the crew's head. It's not something I let them know. Hey, I've got this box set up full of these little treasures, these little devices that I use that I know about, but your crew isn't telepathic, and you have to let them know what you're wanting to do. Hey, when it gets dark, give me my headlamp and one of my backup clips. Lay it out for them. Let them know beforehand, because they're not going to read your mind. But luckily, James had a headlamp, and we're running out there. My headlamp's not dead. It goes into kind of a battery saving mode, so I've still got a headlamp. It's just not
bright.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not allergic to bees and have like an EpiPen.
Yeah, it's just in the bottom of the box underneath
down there.
everything.
You'll find it.
Yeah. Oh, he got stung by a bee. Crap, he doesn't have an EpiPen. It's 10 feet away.
An anaphylactic shock
Yeah.
laid on the ground.
Yeah. So, James, I don't think has paced anybody up to this point, and I'm kind of going internal at that point. It's good to have him around. I'm listening to music. He's talking to me about similar interests and different things, trying to keep me out of it. But kind of what I needed him to do was just talk to me, and he's asking me questions, right? That I'm giving snipped answers to because I'm exhausted and tired and everything like that. I just want him to talk. But he did a great job. He kept me up. He kept me alert. And but he's not experienced, so I really wanted him for that first loop. But I wanted somebody more experienced going into it, which is why I had Billy, you, and you. So I was a little nervous about picking you up. I'm not going to lie, because I've heard how intense you are. But I think my next pickup was Billy.
It was Billy.
Yeah, and Billy, what a great pacer, man.
Oh, dude.
Solid dude.
Like a center for positivity.
Yeah, just kind of, I don't want to say, I'm going to say he's a father figure to me. He's not my actual dad, but he's my uncle. We grew up in close proximity. He helped raise me in certain aspects. We weren't next door, but,
He's always there. Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever given me a whooping, but he's one of those guys that would have. I think I was just well behaved.
Yeah.
Can't relate.
Well, you don't act up around Bicep Billy.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you want that
joggins.
veiny mother lover coming after you. But one of the dads of the family.
Yeah.
So wise. So, just an all-around kind of guy you want around, and he really proved his worth on this race. Not so much this lap because it was pretty uneventful. He kept me awake. It's going well. I'm completely exhausted at this point. We're in the last half of the race, I think, I'm just freaking tired. So. But he nothing really to say because there ain't nothing broke. There ain't nothing. And
there's nothing wild going on.
Yeah. So just gets me through. Excellent pacer. Had some good conversations out there. And then I believe it was you.
Was it me next or was it you?
Did I get a lap with you?
I don't remember. I know you picked me up somewhere in there.
Because I know I had another lap with Billy, and I had the last 3 with you.
I think it was the last round. I think you picked up Divin somewhere in there.
Yeah, so then we pick up the Lane Divin, the Divinator, the Dane Livin.
Dane Livin. Old Div.
And this man's intense. Yeah.
He's like a white David Goggins out there.
Yeah, there you go.
Just yelling at you.
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
You.
I'm right here.
Getting you yelling at you, yelling with you, friggin' making you hit paces that you haven't hit in 30 miles, you know? So the first half of our loop, I don't remember so much. I think because there's a little bit of an awkward period when you pick up a pacer in a race because you've been running forever and they're fresh, they're a little antsy, and it brings a nice energy. But for me, it also brings a lot of awkwardness, and that doesn't matter. Me and Chance have been super tight since we were babies, you know, and I still feel it when I pick him up. So it's a little bit, okay, what are we talking about? How are we feeling? They're trying to feel you out, see where you're at.
It's also just like personality changes going from one individual to the next. I mean, different personalities, different energies, different mindsets. You know what I mean? Like all with the common goal. But we just all go about it very differently.
Right. So I know we went through that feel out period, and then we kind of got sunk into it. I know you're having me run kind of an accelerated pace at that point, because Billy is a great pacer, but he doesn't really push the pace like that. He lets you run your race and let you feel it out. It's very hands off. It's a very different approach. Nothing better or wrong about it.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, so it's you're having me run a higher pace, and then I think I made the mistake of telling you, hey, don't let me slack off on this next section. It gets kind of sandy, and I tend to run slower.
Yep, I remember that.
And I did not know what I let out of the box there.
Like, sweet. No more reins, baby.
Yeah. So
let the horse run.
He comes off the
Warrior.
leash, and he's having me yell mantras, and just we're laying it down out there as much as you can lay it down, as much as I can lay it down in that kind of section.
60 miles into a race.
Yeah, 60 miles into a race, but we are running so fast for that, you know. I mean, and to the point where I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, man, fuck this guy.
There it is.
So I was like, so you know,
I'm
and
not having this.
yeah, but it was very effective. He has me running. We don't get hurt. We don't feel pain.
We don't get tired. We don't get hurt.
Yeah, we don't get tired.
He's yelled it at me a time or two, if you can't
yeah,
tell.
and he's definitely got that drill sergeant mentality of hey, this is what you're gonna say. We don't get hurt. We don't feel pain. You know, and we don't get tired. We don't feel pain. And then you repeat it back to him. He's like, no, that was not it. and then you're like, crap, yeah, that wasn't it. So you're like,
Oh God, he's right.
you know, you try and give him a little bit more. And I don't know, maybe I was being a little bit of a wuss, but I was, you know, I was like, all right, I'll give him a little bit more, you know, and he won't accept it unless you give it to him, you know. So you finally get to the point where you're screaming, and now you're like, all right, let's go. You're back into the mentality you need to go, and you keep running, you know. I mean, not that he lets you slack off on the pace at all, but you're back there with it. And I think at this point we had your dad had given me his trekking poles, which I don't own a pair of trekking poles. And I wasn't anticipating them and needing them coming up to the race. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, I've never really seen that many people with trekking poles at 7IL. But yeah, I'm using them. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. Yeah, so we're running, and we get back to the start, and it was a lot of pain that round. And I know I was really kind of getting into the hurt locker there. And you were helping pull me through that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you know, for me, so often in these races, it's just easy to get in a mindset where you shouldn't be. Yeah. Right. And the mind is just such a powerful thing. Like, that's why for me, like, that's something that's effective for me. Yeah. Like, tell myself, no, I don't feel pain. I don't get tired. Right. And just going through. But, like, once you hit a point of, like, actually believing it, mm-hmm. then everything else dissipates to a certain extent, right?
Yeah,
and that's the hard part for me is the believing it. Yeah, you know,
and it's just a mindset game. It's just what it comes back to. And I know, you know, so often, you know, there's a lot of times where that is needed, but quite the opposite is also true. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, for me going into this, you know, obviously, it's always a transition going from one pacer to the next. Right. And we are trying to gauge where you're at. But also, like, I knew we had a goal that we needed to hit mm-hmm. to where we could see you through the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, we all go about it differently. That was just kind of my mindset behind it too. And there's certain areas where it's like, I remember very specifically you telling me like, hey, this is a super sandy section and don't let me stop.
Yeah.
Until we're through. It was like, Roger that, let's go.
Right. and I mean, and as much as I hate you for it in the moment, there's a reason I'm telling you that too. Is because, I'm feeling weak. I'm letting that what does David Goggins call it, his bitch voice or whatever?
Yeah.
Or is that Andy Frisella?
I think that's Andy Frisella. Maybe it's both. I don't know.
They might both do it, yeah. But yeah, I was letting that talk to me, Well, and so what I need is someone like you. And as much as I don't like, nobody likes being told to do something that they're not doing themselves.
You can say berated.
Like, yell harder.
So, it's like, okay, I'm putting out this effort level, and I'm like, yeah, this is effort. This hurts. This sucks. This is effort. And then you're like, no, you need to get moving, And so it's like, while it's the truth, if you're in that bitch voice mentality, I don't know. I'm like, this sucks, and you need somebody to not let you slack off.
Yeah.
You need someone who's not going to take your bullshit, who's going to be like, no, okay, you trained for this, you wanted this, let's do this, right?
Well, and that's the thing is like, just so often, like, We've all been there. All three of us have been in the, like, you're in this race. You get to a point where it's like, dude, this freaking sucks. Like, this is literally why we're freaking here, though.
Yeah.
This is why we're doing this. This is where our opportunity to grow is. And so let's go out there and grow as much as we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's a tough line to shift between those things. And you can get really close to making a rash decision. Did you pick up Dad after?
Yes, your dad was the next pacer.
And I would say during that section, hold your thought because I want to hear from you too, coming off of there. But that next section, it was a huge swing from that up and we're pushing, we're gung ho, we're going to a pretty dark spot.
Yeah,
I want to make sure we hit that.
But you're saying
whenever you picked up Dad on that next loop going out there.
Okay, after Divin.
After Divin.
Okay, yeah.
But you can finish out your.
No, and so that's the thing too. For me, it's like I'm not gonna, like, I'm going through and reading y'all obviously as well. Like, I'm not gonna make you go through some crap that like you can't actually go through.
Right.
But I'm gonna make sure that you're actually working.
Yeah, you're getting the potential. Yeah.
And and I don't know, man. It's just what was cool to me was at the end of us coming into the aid station, you're like, dude, what was our freaking pace? I don't remember what it was now, but I remember you being like, what?
Yeah, it blew me away.
And it's just like, you're like, just kind of like, there's some emotion to it too and everything else. And you're like, there's no way I just ran that. It's like, dude, it's all you.
Yeah.
It's all, the battle's up here.
Yeah.
It's not physically, it's not the trail, it's all mental. And so it's just getting yourself into that mindset and just pushing through.
Right.
And, I don't know, man. It's just.
No, it was definitely
impactful. So
it was definitely a great lap to have you on because that was one of the tougher parts of the race. We were coming up on 70 miles. What was the loop, like 6 something miles or
6.2 or something like that?
Yeah, 6.2, 6.4, something like that.
So I know and maybe I was getting into that mentality near the back end of the previous lap with Billy, or I'm not sure. It all blurs and it's been a while.
No, for sure.
But I know I was there with you, and you were the perfect guy to be there in that moment. However, on the back side of that, so we come into the aid station, and again, a very emotional guy to begin with, and then you're 70 miles into an ultra marathon. I cried, I'm in that. I'm in there. We had decided that there wasn't enough time for me to go back and forth to the crew area. And so y'all were bringing a chair up for me. And I slumped down into the chair. Y'all are refilling my stuff. Y'all are getting me ready to go. And I let it out, I was feeling the pain. I was just, oh my God, this sucks. I was just like, all right, I'm going to let it out here. and then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to put this behind me. And
Yeah.
then y'all told me my pace. And then I started crying because I was super proud of myself, you know? And it went from like okay, I'm going to let myself have some self-pity for the next minute or something, you know?
Yeah.
Just like, you know, I wasn't counting it out, but I was like, I'm going to let the emotions drain out. I'm going to cry. I don't give a crap anymore. You know, let someone call me a wuss, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to just cry. And then y'all were like, do you know how fast you just ran that? And it was my second fastest lap of the whole race. And I was just like, I can't believe I just did that. You know, I mean, I don't think I said that, but I was sitting there crying. I'm like, oh my God. Y'all got the pack back on me. We stood up, but I may have been there a little bit too long.
That was something that I think we regretted, actually, was letting you sit.
Because we came in super hot. I'm super warm.
Yeah.
A little steamy. And we cooled down because it's back in the 30s that night.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that wide temperature swing was... Because by the time we realized we needed to get me moving again, we had everything slapped on me, I was already starting to shiver again.
Yeah.
Which was very unfortunate because I stood up from that chair and I walked a handful of steps and it felt like someone hauled off and kicked me in the back of my leg. I stumbled and I didn't fall down because I had those trekking poles. And I know we were waiting for Billy to catch up for me. And I don't know about y'all, when y'all get hurt, y'all get really just, bam, you know, you just got hurt. You know you're hurt. You're like, okay, whoa, we're moving. I know I had a problem. I dislocated and shattered my patella one time playing touch football, of all things. And I fell to the ground, and my first reaction was like, okay, we're going to get up and we're going to get out of here. You know, because it's like, okay, something just hurt you. Like, you go into like this response mode where you're not thinking, you're just reacting. And I couldn't stand up at that point, so I flipped over onto my stomach, and I just started crawling away from it. And so at this race, I kind of had the same thing go down. It went pop, whoa, you know, and I caught myself, and I was like, we're walking, you know, and I was just like, Billy will catch me, and I just, all of a sudden, my leg was rock solid. Just, it wasn't bending, it wasn't flexing. I was like, uh-oh, something is not right. And like we talked about earlier with the pain, there's pain and there's being injured.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a pretty good grasp of what that is. And I knew something was wrong there from the moment it happened. And I was just like, okay, don't panic. We're going into problem-solving mode. Something just happened. We don't know what happened, right? But it was something. What we're going to do, and the course, the way it was laid out, was you went out of the main camp area and you proceeded on a small loop around a stock tank. And then you came back up almost to camp, and then you went back out again on a large loop. So I was like, okay, well, we got this small loop. It'll loosen up. Maybe it'll loosen up.
And just
right?
for clarification, this is after you've already left the crew, the aid station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and you're just waiting for Billy to catch up to you.
Yeah. I think I was 5 steps away from that chair or something. I went, oh man, and I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna keep walking, you know, and not out of some kind of tough man.
Yeah.
We're gonna get this done, you know. Something just happened, but we're gonna tough it out, you know. It's completely reactionary. It's just how I handle stuff like that. Like, okay, whoa. We're not gonna freak out. We're just gonna let's assess.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm walking. I'm limping incredibly hard. And I'm heading down that alleyway with all the crew areas set up, and and Billy catches back up to me. He obviously coming up behind me, he already saw it, but I think he let me break the ice on it, if I recall. But I was like, I don't know what just happened, you know. So I thought it was with my knee because the pain was shooting from my calf up into my knee, and I took that as shooting down from my knee.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I was really concerned it was my knee. And I was just like, oh crap, especially because my knee, my knee wasn't bending. So that's another reason I thought it was my knee. And I'm like, oh no, not my knee, please, not my knee. Right. And, and that was freaking me out because I've had knee injuries in the past and they're not fun. They stick around.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man.
So I'm like, okay, we're gonna keep going. And I didn't tell Billy this, but I thought, okay, we're gonna go around the loop, and it's gonna loosen up. Mm-hmm. Something's gonna shift. Maybe I didn't think I dislocated it. I've dislocated my knee before, and I know what that's like.
I have too.
And
it sucks.
I was like, no, it would be more of a literally like your legs frozen in concrete when you get to a certain point. Like you just literally can't physically bend your knee back. And this wasn't that. This was really tight, but it was more like a kind of a steel cable, tight. Yeah. It was like, okay, it doesn't want to go. You can't make it go, but it's not like a hard lock.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody just welded your knee. So
just extremely tight, basically.
Yeah, it's stupid
rock
tight.
Solid.
Yeah, rock solid, and I can't physically run, and it's painful. It's stupid painful, but it was like, okay, that was like secondary. That's not part of your, I don't want to say triage. That sounds too professional for what it is, but it's just like your little body analysis that you go through.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so I was like, okay, if we go around this little loop, it'll loosen up, and if it isn't, we'll probably, like, my mindset, I didn't want to say it in my head, like, because I wasn't saying it out loud, but I didn't want to say it in my head. I was like, we might have to call it. We might have to call it. And as we keep going down that loop, because I'm crawling, I can't barely make it work. It's really painful. I'm limping. Every step sucked. And I got through that, got around the stock tank, and my mentality started going like, oh, it's not given. It's not coming back. And I was like, this is something serious. We need to probably call the race. I was like, we're going to give it to, because there's 2 gates. One gate will take you to the camp, and one gate will take you out there. And I was like, I'm not making that call until we get to that gate. I'm going to give it every step to try and do something with it. Right. And I'm like, and don't get me wrong, there's part of my mindset that's like, if I call it, the pain stops, But I was like, we're not going to go there. We're going to hold on. And it is arduously slow going that small loop. Maybe a little bit more than a mile. And we get up to those gates where you have to make a turn. I was like, I don't think I can go back on the loop. It's too far. My leg's messed up. Mm-hmm. It's not working. And I turn to Billy and I say, hey, I think we're done. I think I'm done, or this is it, or something like that. And he looks at me, he kind of looks me up and down, and he ponders it a little bit, and he's like, okay, what are we thinking? Not okay, let's call it, or not, no, you're going to finish this race, but just, okay, what's going on? What's in your mind? What are we doing? Because obviously he knows that I'm hurt.
Yeah.
We can't barely move.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful question too.
Right.
Just like him stepping back and being like, hey, like what's actually going on?
Right. And this is where having I think his calm and just demeanor really helped, and just I respect the hell out of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know he's experienced where I'm not, and so I was like, okay. And we talked it out for a little bit, and I will never not give him shit for this. But he said, look, man, you're Charlie horsing, and and you want to quit. You're in a lot of pain. and you want to go back to camp, and you see those lights over there, and it's going to be, if you go over there, you get to get warm. You get to get off your feet and your knees and everything that hurts and stuff like that. And this isn't exactly the Charlie horse thing is a direct quote. He said I was cramping real bad.
Not a medical professional.
And I was like, I didn't say it, but I was like, no. But then he said, look, your mindset's, you're looking right over there at those lights twinkling right there, and you know that's warmth, you know that's food, you know that's sitting in a chair.
Everything you want.
Everything right? You want
yeah.
So bad. Because if somebody had come up on one of those loops with a camp chair and said, hey, $200, you can sit down for a second, if I had $200 on me, I would have paid that, on like any of those loops in the second half. I'd have been like, yeah, take my money. That's a good deal.
Unrelated, Divin, I got a brand new business.
So
we got a credit card.
Camp chairs.
Yeah. Oh, we take card.
Yeah.
You got Garmin Pay?
Yeah. Oh, man, that's where it's
just
at.
tap it with your Garmin. We're good.
And so he's like, look,
anybody listening, we already trademarked it.
Yeah.
Copyright.
So he says, look, this is what you're going. And I mean, honestly, that's not the full mentality, but that is a section of the mentality that you're hitting. That's about, I mean, it's not, I don't want to say it's 25%, but let's call that 25%. And then it's, 25% you're cold and hungry. And then, like half of it was probably like, I don't know if we can finish this race doing it. Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, if we keep at this pace, we'll be on this loop when the race is called. And I'm trying to look at it like that. That's just where my head's at. I was like, there's no way we finish. I was like, it's not loosening it up. I gave it a good shot. And this is sounding very rational to me at this time. And probably the most rational thing, and the thing that for legal reasons I suggest anybody listening do, is if you experience that, or a pop in the back of your leg where you almost fall down or would have fallen down, you stop, okay? But the let's get it done, let's finish it thing comes out, and my uncle looks at me, and this is what convinced me. He looked at me and said, do you trust me? It's like, more than anything in the world. So now it's time for me to nut up and prove that. Yeah. Right? In my head. Yeah. It's like, of course I trust you. I would follow you into anything. So he hit me with the, you trust me? It's like, well, I don't think you're a medical expert, but, let's give her hell, whatever. Yeah. If we're on this same loop, when they call the race, we're on the same loop, and I get to tell you, I told you so. But, yeah, I trust you. Let's go. And so we take a left turn there, and we head out on that big loop. And not to spend so much time on that moment, but it was a big moment for me in the race.
Oh, man, that's a pivotal moment, dude.
And so we keep going, and I'm in this little pity party mentality. I'm like, my legs busted up, in my head, like, this isn't fair. This is bullshit. I did all this training. I stepped away from a business for this bullshit, They
moved the course.
Yeah, all of this crap that happened, and
all the negative stuff.
Yeah,
just piling on. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just hitting myself over the head with it repeatedly, just on a loop, just. Yeah. And Billy couldn't really pull me out of it. He stuck with me, and we made it a little further down. And I've been walking in 30-degree weather in wet clothes. Not running. And running is what keeps your body temperature up. And I start to shiver. I'm just that real shivering.
Jackhammering.
Yeah, that crap. This is not good shivering. And I mean, he caught that immediately. Like, I wasn't doing that for very long. And he was like, hey, stop. And he's like, we're switching clothes. I was like, we're switching clothes. There's people out here. He was like, shut up, take my shirt. And so we switched clothes into his dry clothes, and we kept walking, and that helped a lot. And so he just put on wet clothes in 30-degree weather and kept walking with me. I mean, what a champion. That's the kind of guy you want in your corner for sure.
Absolutely.
Hope to do it for him sometime,
Yeah.
But we keep going, and I start to fall asleep on my feet because we've slowed down, and it's not enough to keep me awake, and and it was a hell of a loop. It was just rough, and I'm like, my eyes are closing, and I'm nodding off, and I started to wander off the trail because I woke up to him pulling me back on course. I'd be like, oh crap, sorry, and we're keep trudging along, limping. I'm really leaning on the poles, and I just getting more and more down on the dumps. I think I sat down for a rest partway through that, a few miles in, and it's where if we were running, we would have already finished the course, and I think we're about halfway through the loop, and we're only about halfway, and I'm just getting really down and negative, and then all of a sudden, and I've tried to run a couple of times because I'm like, maybe we can grit through the pain or whatever, and it's just still rock solid. And then we're about halfway through the course, and I decided to test it again, and I can move my leg. I'm like, well, it's still painful. It still hurts. I still want to, I still don't like it, but I can move my leg. And I was like, okay, we need to make up some time. Let's get moving. And I didn't tell him that. I just started moving because I was like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop and walk again because it might lock up on me, whatever. Yeah. And so I just start moving, and he's like, oh, hey, we're moving. And so we started going. But the really bad part about all this was my watch went down in one of those loops. I don't know if it was the loop with James or the loop with you. I cannot recall which loop my watch died on me.
Yeah.
And I had a charger with me. Again, brief your crew. But I had a charger that would fit under it and a battery bank so I could charge it during the race because I knew the watch would not make it through the race.
Yeah.
And I wasn't monitoring the battery. So now I have zero concept of what my overall pace, what my overall time on course is, and how much time we have left in the race. Mm-hmm. All I know is I've been on this loop for what feels like 3 hours.
For forever.
Yeah. And I think the overall loop was right about 3 hours, but at the halfway mark, I thought it had been 3 hours, Mm-hmm. But I mean, I had no concept of time at that point. And my watch came back up. I charged it and I got it back on there. But, now I can't do math in good times, sober. So I'm trying to do this math of how long I've got left. And I'm like, there's no time left. I think dawn's right around the corner. And I'm like, there's no way I finish this race. There's no way I finish this race. We get back up there, and I was like, we're going to call it, and I was getting in my head. I was like, man, if my knee's all fucked up, I want to go see a medical professional. I want to either get cleared or what I really wanted, get pulled from the course, like, okay, yeah, you've done enough. Like that, like a medical professional telling you, no, if you continue, you're going to get hurt. That's a pretty good excuse to stop, It
is.
Yeah. And I wanted that. I wanted that so bad.
Yeah.
But we get back around, and I don't know, because at that point we couldn't really stop at the top there, and we picked you up, and I think you told me we got to get going. Maybe I sat down, maybe I didn't.
No, we kept you.
We took the chair away.
Yeah, we kept you standing the rest of that. Yeah.
And y'all just kept me moving, and Chance gets out on the course with me, and Chance is probably the best pacer for me because he knows how to push my buttons, he knows when to push my buttons, he knows how to encourage me, what to tell me, he's just, I don't know, he just knows me so well. So it's he's dropping everything in the book on me. He's like, let's go, let's keep going, let's move, keeping me moving, not letting me stop for too long. And he's telling me not to worry about the time, which really plays hell with me. But we're, cause I'm like, if I just know that there's some time, Yeah. But I keep asking him some time, and I thought it was a big conspiracy. I was like, he's lying to me. He's lying to me. He's on this crap that it's more noble to get pulled from the course, than to stop.
And I told you several times, I was like, you got time. Don't worry about time.
Yeah, and I thought you were lying to me. I don't know why that was in my head, but I was like, no, because I know your do or die mentality. You would rather you're gonna try if you got 5 seconds left and 30 miles to go, you're gonna run full speed for those last 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what he's doing to me. That's what I've got an hour left and we've got 3 loops to go. And I was like, he's gonna make me get pulled from the course halfway through the loop or some crap, you know. And that's just where my head was at. And he's dragging me through, and I'm just basically trying to make a show of it, you know, just like, all right, we'll do it, because I'm like, I'm not gonna quit, you know, especially not knowing how much time there's, because I'm not gonna quit when I have 3 hours left in the race. I'm not gonna quit, you know. I'm not gonna do that. If there's a shot, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
But that's where it was, and then they kept not pulling me from the course. They kept not calling the race. And then I think eventually we had, because we went through that loop and there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of yelling, there was a lot of everything, every emotional under the sun. I think even at one point I was crazy laughing. Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, what was that like for you, Chance, coming into that? Because I mean, did Billy tell you anything about Mike's position?
Yeah, he came in and just outright told me that you weren't in a great place.
Yeah.
And he knew that what you referred to. I like to read people.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little awkward when I first come in because I'm getting an evaluation and coming up with a plan and a formula of how we're going to motivate you. And, yeah, we know each other extremely well. So there were some things I got you to dig into the cookie jar on people that had doubted you.
Yeah.
And
told me, why don't you just drop out now? 2 months into my training plan, why don't you just drop out now and save yourself the embarrassment?
Exactly. And that was a big point we hit on, that you got fired up for a big part of that lap when we first came in.
Yeah.
But you did keep fighting me on time to the point of you actually were like, no, tell me. And I laid out the math for you that I already done in my head 32 times.
Yeah.
Said, this is why you have to keep going. You can make it. It's going to be close. But, like, no more sitting down, no more stopping. You've got to keep rolling. And yeah, it was a lot. I mean, you were all over the place and just trying to keep you reeled in those moments. But I think by that point the sun had come up, or was
yeah.
So there was daylight. We could see the trail. We weren't fighting factors of the night and cold and stuff like that anymore. So there was some positivity there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first loop was a lot of kicking and screaming and me having to validate to the point of, I think I finally got to say the same thing that my dad said to you and asked you.
Yeah. Do you trust me?
Yeah. And whenever I asked you that and laid out all the times and everything, you finally said yes.
Yeah.
And
then we gave it hell.
Man.
It was a real close thing, and it was stupid painful. The most painful experience of my life. And I've had testicular torsion. So
fair enough, brother.
You know,
worse than that.
I was not expecting.
Oh man.
So we have what, 2 laps left? A lap left.
2 laps.
Yeah, 2 laps.
88 miles into this thing. 87 miles into this thing.
Yeah.
And that we're getting down to the end, and we knew we were tight on time.
Yeah.
To the point of you'd roll into the aid station and we'd grab your pack, have you keep going. We'd fill your stuff up and we'd run you down, throw your pack on you, and we'd get going. And that last lap, we were pretty scrubbed for time. And you were wanting to stop. I don't know if you want to take back over here. You were wanting to stop for medical.
Yeah. Yeah, because I kept, again, I thought it was my knee a lot. That pain was shooting up. Because, like, there's pain everywhere. It's like your hips, your knees, your quads, your hamstrings, your calves, your ankles, the bottoms of your feet. Everything just hurts. And I just kept getting these pangs right through, and I thought they were shooting down because they just kind of light up. And I thought what it was I was tearing up my knee. And that's just the thing, is don't dwell on it. Don't think about it, because you're just gonna think about things that are 10 times worse than whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And so I'm just picturing in my head, just cartilage and crap, and I'm just like, and I'm like,
dissipating.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
And I was like, we need to talk to medical. And I was like, and I honestly, in my head, I was like, if we talk to medical and he says, no, you're not in danger of permanent injury, I'll keep going. But you told, and I didn't say that to you, I don't think.
No.
Because I kind of knew what you were about. I kind of knew what you already knew, and then you said it to me. You were like, if we stop, you are not going to make it. We do not have time for that.
Yeah, because it was going to be, at minimum, you're talking about a 15-minute, 20-minute evaluation.
Yeah.
And these laps were taking an hour and
yeah
15.
And
I
we
would
had
say
chewed
hour
up
and a half is what I was thinking. Yeah.
all of my time buffer with that, with what had happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say you actually had a good lap in there somewhere on the, I think it was the third to last lap where we made up some time and got some buffer.
Yeah.
But then in that second to last lap, before the final lap, that's where that medical thing came into play, and had to leave it completely up to you, man.
Yeah.
You make the call, but just know that this is where we're at.
Yeah.
It is do or die. If you stop, you're done.
Right.
But if you need to stop, stop.
Yeah. And I think, and then that's the thing is like, I don't know. I almost need that. Like, here are the facts. These are the cold facts of it. You know, no bullshit. No, let's rah get it done. We are strong kind of bullshit. It's like, okay, is it possible? Let's look at the time. Let's see. Okay, where are we at? How long has it been taking us to complete laps? If it's been taking us, I think we're in excess of 2 hours on those laps. If it's been taking us like that, and we have an hour left going in the last lap, I'm not going to tear myself up trying to run that 6 miles in what I've run 6 miles in feeling good. You know, it's not going to happen. You know,
Yeah.
Like that's not absolutely burning it down, but a 6 mile run, I'm trying to come in under the hour. Typically, like if I got 6 miles for the day, I'm like, all right, you know, and that's pretty quick. That's huffing and puffing. That's moving, you know, for me. So like, okay, as long as we have some semblance of time, even if we have to cut time, if we're in excess of 2 hours and we need to cut some time, as long as it's doesn't seem like it's impossible, you know, let's go. Let's just lay it out, see what's up. And what was not on the table was stopping to get checked out by medical and finishing. And when you put it to me like that, I'm like, we've already run so far on it. Let's just get it done. Let's hammer it down. Maybe we can come away with the buckle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of need you to say that to me. Like, hey, look, you can, but just know that decision is the end of the race, you know? And it's like, okay, well, we're not doing that.
Yeah, and the rationale was all over the place. Like, by that point, we were in lap 15 out of 16 laps, and we were most of the way through lap 15. So it was like, hey, we are 92 miles into a 100-mile race.
Yeah.
What is your choice?
Yeah.
And putting it like that and getting the facts.
And the other thing that I almost neglected to mention is I wanted to quit a lot. There's a big part of me that wanted to quit, and this is why you surround yourself with good people who won't let you give into the worst parts of yourself, right? Because I'm not gonna say it was. It could have been the majority of me that wanted to quit, you know, and that's why I was leaning on y'all so hard to say no, you know, and I don't know, you just can't let that part of you get to you. But I know if I was alone on that course, I would have.
Yeah.
And this is part of the reason I want to go back. This is why I want to do it again. You can't get that. I didn't get that out of my marathon. Running my marathon, it sucked. It really sucked. It did not go to plan. It was really hard. It hurt. But there's a certain level of buck up and get it done champ in me. And it's like, okay, at what point does that deplete? At what point is that gone? Because I got it done with the 50K, you know, and I know I was searching for that. I know your dad at the end of my marathons texted me something like, you can figure out everything you need to know about yourself in 26.2 miles. And I was like, I don't know. I don't feel like I did. I don't feel like I know myself. And so, and that's part of the reason I kept wanting to go higher and higher distance. And I'm not saying that the 100-miler is where you find that. I think it's individual for everybody. I think maybe some people do find it on the marathon. I think some people find it on 600 miles across Colorado. I think some people find it on Everest. I think some people find it, in literature. Wherever the hell you find that, what you are, what you're made of, you need to pursue that,
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't run into that. Maybe I could have gotten it on a 100K. It's possible. I don't think I would have gotten it on a 50-miler, but I definitely ran into that at this race. What are you made of? What are you doing? And it left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. No, for me, I mean, if anybody else told me that, I'd be like, fighting words. But, like if I'm doing the introspection, if I'm doing the work you need to be doing, I need to be better than that. For what do you need to be better? But if I want to butt up against that, if I want to see if that can be improved, if I want to do that, I got to put myself in that position again. And then maybe if I were more physically fit, it would be, it wouldn't be 100 miles that would break me off like that. But as it stands, that's where it's at. So I want to go back. I want to retry that battle, and I want to get the result I want, because I came away with a buckle, and the idea was, hey, let's complete it. But at the end of the day, am I running it for a buckle, or am I running it for the experience of the race? Am I running it to figure out something about myself, to learn something? And it really sucks when you look at something and you're like, a little bit disappointed, but you gotta be able to look at yourself and tell yourself that, and like, hey, do better, don't, because I could easily not go back, not do that again, and be like, I ran 100 miles, and just go around my life patting myself on the back, being like, oh yeah, one time I ran 100 miles, to people who don't run, and they're like, that's crazy, and super impressive. But what would be really nice for me is if I can find that place where I want to break and I don't, right? Because I know if you weren't on the trail with me, I would have called it. I would have walked in that aid station and be like, hey, y'all got an EMT here or something? Hey, y'all got a chair? I'm just going to sit down for a little bit, let them pull me from the course. And that's not what you want. You shouldn't have to I don't want to have to rely on somebody else to pull me through those situations, right? God forbid, like, what if something's happening and somebody I love is in trouble, and it's so far into something, and all I need is to pull myself together and buck up a little bit and help them out, and I'm unable to do that. I think you should try and develop mental toughness, like Andy Frisella has. Like he preaches with his 75 Hard and Live Hard program. And you should try and develop that. You should pursue that. And to do that, you have to find a place where you are no bullshit broken off, where you are in a place where you want to quit, where you want, like, because if I go and run a marathon, I know I can do a marathon. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck, but I can get there, and it's like, you need to find where the rubber meets the road, where that part is, where everything else is stripped away, and all that's left is for you to cowboy up, and I didn't do that.
You say that, but I do want to shift gears a little bit, not to cut you off, because you say you didn't do that. But given the circumstances and what you were in for this race and all the factors, there was a lot of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying that I'm some kind of wuss. I'm not saying that I didn't want to complete it. I'm not saying that the overall drive to get put, because if I wanted to get pulled from that course, I mean, I did. But if I let that part win out, I could have very easily gotten pulled from that course. I could have been like, I could have said some stuff to the race director or to a medical staff or anybody. I could have just dragged my feet and not listened to you, right? And I would have not made it very easily.
Yeah.
But so there that has to come with it from within, on some level. You can't like you said to me, you can't run the race for me. You can't move my legs. You can't make that decision for me. And I don't mean to get down. I'm not trying to be self-deprecating or anything. It's just that is a weak point with me, and that's so I don't want to make it seem like I suck or anything, but that's where I want to improve, and I don't want to shy away from that. I want to put a spotlight on that for a little bit, like, hey, we can do that better.
And I appreciate that perspective, and I feel like honesty, and even things we've talked about here recently on the podcast, honesty is a huge part of improvement and knowing where you can go from here and what the next steps are. So I fully agree with that. But in this story, we're coming off of a lap 15 that was rough. It was slow. It was probably 2 hours and 15 minutes. And we get to the top, and we've got basically an hour and 58 minutes left to do the last lap, lap 16. And Cal walked over to my dad, Billy, and said, man, he's got to go sub 2. This is like, y'all realize that, right? Because Cal didn't doubt you, but he just wanted us to all be very real about what the expectations are and what you had just done on that last lap. You want to talk about cowboying up. You want to talk about nutting up and getting after it when your back's against the wall. We all saw a lot of that out of you at this event, to be straight up. Because, I mean, I'll let you take the last lap if you want to, or I'll run with it.
You go ahead. I've said basically everything I can remember from the race itself.
So the last lap, we come in, we've got you, we don't let you sit down. We got you walking.
So we keep you moving. Yeah.
The guys grab your pack. They're refilling everything, getting you fluids, getting you food, getting you water. I'm making you pack a couple gels down your throat here and there. We got Awesome Sauce. We got Martin gels. We got BPN Go gels. And you're getting your nutrition. We're trying to keep you going. A little bit of caffeine here and there. And we get back out there, and we realize that we've got to make up some time. So immediately I started breaking out a lot of the things, the mantras that Divin does. I started bargaining with you on running. Okay, run to this tree, run to this bush. Things like that. I keep reminding you of things that are going on with you that man, like, could you imagine all these years ago whenever we started doing this crap and getting in shape that we'd be here? And just playing that game. And I was feeding things into your mind, absolutely. And you might say that that's part of the reason why you finished this thing, but I'll tell you, for 5 miles of this, you dug deeper than I have seen. It was on the same level of my dad in the last few miles of that race. And I mean that because you had a torn calf muscle. Like a straight up torn calf muscle. You should not have been out there on that course. You were injured. You were at a point where 95% of people would have quit. They weren't making the wrong decision by quitting. And you didn't know if we could finish it or not. I didn't know if we could finish it or not. But what I did know is that you and I could figure things out along the way. We could make up time here. We could bank time here. We could keep pushing. If we don't stop at aid stations, if I grab all the gear for you at the aid stations and hand it to you, we can keep this sucker going.
This is our last bathroom stop.
I told you that. I was like, we're not doing that. Like, you can't do that again. And
you got to make some decisions.
It was a very real thing. Like, I hate to be to that point, but man, we just kept pushing and pushing. And you would ask me about time, and I just kept telling you. I was like, I would tell you your pace. I said, we have to stay under this pace average for this lap. And you'd ask me your time, and I'd tell you, and we'd be under it. And I'd tell you, and we'd be under it. And I'd add something on there. I'd be like, we're under it. We're at this pace, but we got to keep pushing because we got this section coming up, or we got this coming on, or we got this aid station.
I remember that. And
so we pushed and pushed and pushed. And we get to the last aid station about 2 miles from camp or so. And Dad texted me and said, hey, how's it going? I said, we're already at the last aid station. He was like, what? Because you dug deeper on that last lap and pulled out something within yourself that...
Well, I think on that last lap I was coming out of that woe was me pity party. I think I left it behind at some point. And I don't know exactly when that was.
But exactly, that's the point I'd like to make and round into here is nothing I did could pull you out of that. Nothing Drill Sergeant Crew Chief Lane Diven could pull you out of that. Nothing that Dad had to rationally say to you could pull you out of that.
Yeah.
You decided that you were going to keep going in this thing. You decided that you were going to keep pushing. And by the time we get to that last aid station, the reason Dad was so surprised is because we had over a half hour. It was like almost 40 minutes to go.
So I think it's like 45 minutes left
to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
You were only at like an hour 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we had 40 minutes to get to the end. And I kept pushing you, and you kept pushing hard for another about mile of it until we were about a mile out.
Yeah.
And then you kept asking me, and I let the foot off the gas a little bit, but you kept pushing because you were so nervous. And then finally we got to the half mile. I wouldn't tell you what the time was.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell me.
And we got to the half mile out.
And I thought we were done.
You had 25 minutes to go half a mile. There was no way you were not going to finish the race.
Yeah.
And I will say that's where the mind shift comes in. That's what convinces me that this is all you, brother.
Yeah.
Because no matter what I said, no matter which motivation technique I brought out, no matter what tool I brought out, that half mile, you hiked it.
Yeah.
You didn't push the envelope. You stayed steady and ran your race.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted you to finish strong.
You wanted me to run through the arch.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And the thing is, nothing I can say had anything to do with how you were going to finish that race. I couldn't convince you to run another step after that half mile mark. And what that tells me is you're the one calling the shots. You're the one making the decisions. You're the one choosing whether you're going to do this or not. So whenever you say that I played this huge role or that Divin played this huge role or Dad did, don't get me wrong. Having the right people around you is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, nobody can make you do anything that you don't want to do.
Right.
You finished a 100-mile race.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else did.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel really good. Yeah, I don't want to. Like I said, I'm not trying to get down on myself about any of that. But I mean, and part of that is like, oh, I want to stop for medical care. If you do, it's going to pull you from the race. And I say, I'm like, oh, I really want to, because when I say I want to be pulled from that race, it is like so strong. And not to be pulled from the race and told, oh, you're not going to finish, you're not going to complete it. And I don't want to be pulled from the race, but I just want it to be over so bad.
And you want it to be somebody else's fault than your own decision.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not going to quit it. You know, I'm not gonna stop unless somebody tells me I can't go, right? And I mean, and there's got to be somebody with the actual means to do it. You know,
sure.
But
what did you say the other day? What was the quote you said? If you want to go fast.
Oh yeah, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together.
Go together. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So, but yeah, I know. After that, I'm a big crier. I like to cry, and I got to the end of I got through that arch, and I was like, well, legs have done their job. And I thought I was gonna cry at the end of that race, and I didn't.
You didn't.
I think I was emotionally done. I think there was nothing left in the tank, emotion-wise. You know, it was so tough. And I really thought I was going to be like, oh, I really love you guys, hugging on y'all. But I was a zombie, man.
Yeah.
I was like, it's over. I can check out. And that's what I did. I was lights out, boom.
So do you remember anything after finishing? Or not really?
No, I remember stuff. I remember Cal picking me up, which, God dang, I didn't expect him to be so strong. He's so wiry.
So lanky.
Yeah. But he just hauled me, because I'm a heavy man. I'm and not like in a good way either. I'm just just a brick, bro.
You're killing me, dude.
but yeah, and he just pulled me up because my legs weren't doing any of that work.
Yeah.
He just pulled me up to his level, and yeah, so that surprised the hell out of me. And then he looked at me and he said, it's been basically its own ultra getting to this race, and some congratulations and just like, good job sticking with it kind of stuff, and which was really nice,
Yeah.
And then y'all had to slide me out of the way because Old Man River was coming through hot. Boy, he ran through that arch, bro. He ran through the aid station. He ran through the tables, bro.
He was running for 99. Boy.
Yeah, he wasn't stopping, bro.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Y'all were like, get this wreck out of the road. We got stuff coming through. But then y'all sat me down in a chair. I know y'all covered me up with a blanket, which was really nice. And we did the whole I'm going to Access Recovery thing instead of Disneyland. Speaking of,
We're a recovery sponsor. We'll get to them.
Yeah, no, I was just goofing. But yeah, I know y'all gave me the buckle. We got to take a bunch of pictures, and I would have really liked to have a nice moment where I got to like actively and sincerely thank everybody. But I know I was completely done. Y'all loaded me into the car, and we had to get out of there. It was later on Sunday. We all have. Well, I didn't have work. I'd called off, but everybody else got to get to work. So
that's right.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then I do want to mention again that the next day I was laying in bed because I had to haul I was living in an apartment at the time. I had to haul myself up the stairs with my arms. I was crawling. It was like that story from Major Payne, Bubba, those legs aren't there, And so I get myself up there barely. My pregnant wife's doing all of the unloading on the car. And we, I think she loads me into the shower, helps me into the bathtub, and we just fill it up with water around me. And she helped me bathe. But then I got to bed, slept, and when I woke up the next day, it's midday, she's at work, and I look down on my calf, and it's just blossoming with color. And it never got purple, which everybody was like, oh, if you tore a calf muscle, your leg's going to be purple. Because I had texted a couple people. I was like, hey, man, you think I tore this? Whatever. Because that's what I suspected the whole time. But I wasn't letting myself say it in the race. I wasn't going to be like, oh, yeah, it's torn.
It was a Charlie horse.
Yeah, I kind of dug into that. I was like,
it's a heck of a Charlie horse.
I was like, he's wrong, but it's a Charlie horse. At least for that lap, you know. And so I look and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's torn. And I take a picture of it and I send it to him, kind of just wanting to be smug. I was like, yeah, I think I tore something. And this man, no shit, texts me back, says, you just ran 100 miles. Your body's going through a lot. There's going to be some reactions. I probably wouldn't rush off to the doctor just yet. Probably, just see what happens. Man still didn't believe that I had torn my
electrolytes in you.
Billy Joggins, I just want to say I appreciate that mindset.
Yeah, I do too.
If I'm ever in that moment, just do the exact same thing you did to Mike here, please.
But yeah. So from what I've read, because I don't really know anybody who's torn a calf, and this is the only calf muscle I've ever torn. So from what they say, most people can walk around with a torn calf muscle. Like it hurts. Mm-hmm. The calf muscle hurts. You can't do your typical exercises that you do. But it sounds from all the literature that it's more of an inconvenience than anything. And I was like, so this got to be something crazy, because when I went to try and stand up, I could not lift the leg off of the mattress. Like physically get even an inch of space off of the mattress. Just really trying. And I was like, what the heck, and I was like, no, I need to go see the doctor. But what your dad said was ringing through my head, and I was like, maybe this is normal for 100-mile runners, But, maybe they happen. They're only run by really tough sons of bitches in my head, So it's like, everybody talks about losing the toes, nails, and losing the back of your heel to blisters and crap like that, which, I had plenty of. But I was like, maybe they just haven't talked about it. Because there's plenty of stuff that, just doesn't quite get covered. And I don't know why I thought not being able to physically lift your leg off the ground wouldn't get covered. But I was just like, maybe this is just something everybody goes through.
Just rationalizing
Maybe
it.
Billy's right. I probably shouldn't go to the doctor. I held off going to the doctor for 2 days where I couldn't lift my leg. Because so I finally it gets to the point where I spent those 2 days flopping off of my bed and crawling around my apartment to get anywhere, get to the toilet, get to the kitchen to eat like I'm sitting on my kitchen floor with the fridge popped open making myself a sandwich because I'm literally
base of the fridge.
literally crippled at this point. I couldn't roll myself in a rolly chair. We had rolly chairs and I could not do it because it would just drag my leg. So from that position it was hurting my calf. So when I crawled, if I flipped over onto the front, I could crawl and be okay, and then just crawl up whatever I needed to do, like to get to the bathroom, crawl up the sink and then just like flop myself over and stuff. But
Well, that sounds rough.
so that was 2 days, and I had planned to take 2 days off work.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we ain't getting to work tomorrow. So I took a lot of time. I went and got a cane because on day 3 I managed to stand up, and I was like, hey, we're looking good. I was really happy. I think I sent you a Snapchat like, we're moving now, boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I went to Walmart, bought myself a cane to help myself get around because at this point I'm still like, nah, Billy says it's okay. It's probably okay.
Dr. Joggins.
Dr. Joggins coming at you. And I didn't go see a doctor until that weekend. And I went in there and he's like, yep, you tore your calf muscle. He was like, try and stay off of it. He's like, this is a pretty bad one. Said like probably like 8 weeks recovery or whatever. And I can still feel it if I flex my calf the right way. I can still feel where it was. So it still makes me nervous. I can run. I'm back to running and working out and doing all that. But I probably wasn't as active on my rehab as I should have been. Did some calf raises. I thought about doing some bands, but I never went and got bands to do that. But I did some calf raises and I did some other stuff. And I think I wasn't quite hitting it the right way, the right direction. Because I recently stood up out of somewhere and felt it flare up. I mean, not super painful, but, just you can
still
feel
feel it.
right where it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, that needs some more rehab. Because where I'm running, I'm fine, but I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out. So, we'll maybe I've got some bands now. We'll figure that part out.
Yeah. It's all in the details.
Yeah.
So I do want to touch base. What was your at this point we're 3 months past your race roughly, or coming up on 4 maybe, something like that.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on 4.
Man, what was your biggest takeaway overall? Just throughout the entire process, all the highs, all the lows, everything, all encompassing. I mean, what was that biggest takeaway for you?
That's a tough one. I'll probably break it down in a couple. One, surround yourself with the best people you can. It helps immensely, not just in a race, but in daily life. I know I've been on the podcast a couple times, but I watch the podcast all the time. I don't think I've missed an episode. I've missed parts of episodes because I'll forget it and then I won't get back to it. But I've watched pretty much everything y'all put out. So it's and that helps me in my day to day. Because I can slack off with the best of them. But if I'm feeling a little slack offy and I listen to the podcast, it jazzes me up. hanging out with you guys, being with people who push themselves and try to better themselves. That's the best thing you can do. And then when the rubber hits the road, having those same people there with you is indispensable. They will help you lean into the best parts of yourself. And then you're tougher than you think you are. You can do a lot more than. I mean, I knew I was tougher than my body, for instance, because if I was just letting my body call the shots, I would have stopped at mile 50. When my legs were jello. I'd have been like, well, they're not running anymore, and my legs are saying, hey, we're not running anymore. And you're just like, yeah, you are. But
you're coming with me.
Yeah. So you're tougher than your body. And I thought it was your mind, that got you through those moments. And because that's what I've used to get past my body. But I think you're tougher than your mind, too. You got to not let your mind say, hey, we're done, because your legs are going to call it. And then your mind's going to be like, nah, come on. And they're going to call it. And then you got to find something deeper. And I'm going to say that's your spirit, your soul, or whatever, who you are at the core that's got to be something that'll pull you through.
Determine that.
Yeah.
So
those are beautiful takeaways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You got any other questions written down over there, or what you got?
The only other one I got for you, if we want to dive into it at this moment, is, what's next in line for you, man?
Boom, that was my question too.
Ooh, I'm actually really excited about what's next in line. So this, I'm going back to the 100-mile distance. I'm going back to I'm not going to Brazos Bend.
You're supposed to mention your child.
Oh, well.
I'm joking. I'm just giving you a hard time.
But I think I'm gonna run.
That ain't changed.
Yeah. Oh man, I am just a piece of crap.
Oh man, just in case Bree listens.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I'm on this track.
Focus on running right now.
Yeah. No, so I'm going to go out to Ricochet's, and I'm going to run that. And I think that's going to be mostly for fun. I say that, but I know I'm going to get out there and be like, well, let's see what we can do. It tends to happen. But, again, I'm not the most competitive guy, so we'll see how that rolls. But, I don't know. I just really enjoyed that race. It's a good time, so I want to run it. And it's a lot more technical and interesting than what I typically get to run. So it's like, all right.
I understand that one.
Yeah, it's probably the most interesting course I've been on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, really excited to go back to that. I think I'm going to run Dana Peak 100K in prep for the for my main race of the year, which is going to be Dinosaur Valley 100-mile endurance race, I think.
That's in Marble Falls?
Yes, it's right next to it's what the heck is that state park? It's been a second since I looked into it.
Glen Rose State Park?
Yeah, that's it.
Or something like that,
That's
right?
the one. Yeah. So
it's beautiful out there, man.
Yeah, it looked really beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's not gonna be just some regular course. Like I said, I had so much fun at Ricochet's because it's a little bit up and down. It's a little bit of through some meadows and up through some rockiness, and it's
absolutely.
a good time. So we're
over
gonna
the river and through the woods, if you will.
Yes. So we're gonna do that. And overarching for the year, I will be diving into parenthood. So, I was about to say it's not really optional. I don't get a choice, but I guess I do get a choice technically. But that's not much of a choice.
Yeah, no.
I could go out for some milk,
Yeah.
but
pack of cigarettes. Yeah.
but no, that's I'm really excited. We're gonna invite Thomas into the world sometime soon. We don't know. I'm hoping May 4th because that's just awesome.
Yeah, breaking back the nerdy side of things.
Yeah. So. Or I've also heard May 6th, so Revenge of the 6th, and I guess I could settle for that.
Could you settle for Cinco de Mayo or no? We just
that'd be all right.
Tacos
it'd be cool.
Every birthday. Yeah.
But I was like margaritas.
But no, we're probably gonna be the 16th is the due date, I think. So he'll probably be around that time.
Yeah.
But it'd also be cool if he's coming while you're running Cocodona.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool that happened, but also I do want to be able to call and check up, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that if breezing active labor.
Oh, not to mention, like we definitely want to be buying and meat as soon as y'all are ready for visitors.
So yeah, I wish I was going out to Cocodona with you. That is so exciting. That is going to be an amazing adventure for you and everybody who's going. Just to be there in those tough moments, in those high moments. Dude, racing is like crack, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's addictive.
It is.
It's fun to be around. It's fun to do. It's just. I mean, I call it racing. Some people, maybe a little bit more elitist, are like, oh, you're not racing unless you're actually trying to win, But being at a race, I guess, it's fun.
Oh, dude, you're competing with someone, yourself, other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many aspects to what you can do at these things. It's so fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Big Tex. It was like a big party. You get to see your crew every hour.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey guys, what's up? Yeah, I'm feeling great. Hey guys, I'm feeling like crap.
Getting close.
Yeah.
The highs and lows, man.
So,
well, dude, it sounds like you got some incredible things coming down the line for you. All of us within our team, our family. I mean, we're all here for you and everything that's coming down the line. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys having me on for sure.
Yeah, thanks for swinging by. Man, it's exciting, and being behind the scenes and knowing some of your other future plans too. Excited to get those out here in the world. It's funny because
we're not breathing those out yet.
No, I feel like I know everybody's secrets though that they're doing race wise, and I'm just like, when do I out y'all?
Yeah. I don't know. That's long-term planning though. That's something I still don't know if I'm even capable of doing. So that's, we'll keep that in the back pocket and we'll keep working towards it, because we'll talk about it when we get off the air. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, man, you got anything else you want the people to know out there about this beautiful, beautiful race you ran?
CalNEF puts on some great races.
Absolutely.
Great point.
Go out and give
Trail Racing
over Texas. I almost said Tejas Trails, but another good company.
Another good company.
But go out there, give Trail Racing Over Texas some love. He does his best. He really cares about everybody who crosses the finish line in one of his races. I mean, everybody who participates in his race. I don't want to make it sound like he's an elitist, but yeah, good guy. And he'll take the time to talk to you. He's just a good dude. So.
Yeah, that was a great tidbit of information there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to close this thing out with a prayer again?
Yeah, rock it, man.
Yeah, you good with that?
Michael, you good with it? Before we do have to mention our recovery sponsor, Access Recovery, right?
That's very true.
Hey, those are those people in Conroe.
Hey.
Yeah, I think I heard of them.
Yeah, you could probably do the ad if you listen to all these episodes, but now.
I think I'll let you do it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll talk about a little bit what they got over there. They got some sauna and cold plunges.
You dang
They
right,
got
man.
some of those Normatec boots.
They do have
that are
normies.
so good from what y'all tell me.
So
The
good,
infamous
so
boots,
good.
Yeah. I think they got the assault bike. Is that new? I think that was the last episode y'all mentioned that.
Yep.
They sure do.
And then they've got a mobility area.
They do.
Yeah.
Mobile.
TVs.
Agile,
and
hostile.
what do they call that when they do the sauna and then the cold plunge?
Contrast therapy.
Contrast therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah, they got a lot of good stuff over there. Chris Barnes, I hope you're okay with me doing the ad.
Hey, whether he is or not, it's too late now.
Yeah.
Regardless,
hey, I don't want that Clydesdale pissed at me. All right.
It's a lot of man to be angry. Dude, no, if you find yourself in Houston or in the Conroe area, sneak over there. You will not regret it. Mention Next in Line Development sending you by to get 10% off. And gosh, thank you for that plug, Michael.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible.
No problem.
Other than that, man, again, it's always been a pleasure talking to you, and just awesome having you on the podcast. And so we'll wrap this up with prayer, and we'll get on our way. So,
Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to come together in fellowship and just visit with each other and revisit some of these amazing experiences that you've given us here on this earth. God, as we get ready to leave here, please protect everyone on their travels. Please protect everyone's families, especially going into these new chapters of life and these just amazing opportunities that you've given us to grow and to live a little bit more in the light of what you've created us to do. And God, we ask that you protect us from evil, that you deliver us from the temptations of this world, and you forgive us as sinners who fall short of your glory every day. God, we pray for those who don't see eye to eye with us. We pray for those that we might call enemies, but we just ask that you walk with them so in a way that they would glorify you. And you do the same for us. Just place your hands upon us and send us down the path that you need us to walk with the tools that you've given us. It's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Cool.
Well, y'all get out there, go do hard things, lead the way, and always be prepared for whatever it is.
Next in line.
There we go.
You were looking at me. I was like,
I was waiting for it.
Dang. Adios, folks.